Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of the Britton Social Club, where I just hang out for a few hours with friends, sometimes just with, me here, and generally Wrath when he's around. He generally is around this time. I have some guests I'm hoping to come in today. But yeah, so this is a bit more impromptu. I know Matt's streaming at the moment, so I'm not really expecting a lot of people to show up. Though there probably will be more people showing up once Matt ends his stream, which I don't, really that depends. We have a guest already, by the way, a bit of a newer guest on the Written Social Club. Aaron Hook, how you doing, man?
Oh, all right. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Just just surviving.
Yeah, well, I think we're all doing that at the minute.
Yeah, my sports ball team lost. So I'm a bit salty about that. But aside from that, I'm doing pretty good. I'm about to go to Florida in a couple days. It should be fun.
Is it a general holiday or just, or is it for something official?
Well, my parents are having an anniversary on the 16th, but aside from that, it's
Oh,
a vacation. So yeah, not bad. But so what have you been up to, Aaron? I know you were away for a little bit because of reasons.
yeah, for those who don't know, it was just my uncle died at the beginning of September, so I spent most of September away. But so last week of September, I come back and I've been finishing my reading. I can actually show you the books I've read or I'm reading. So I
Yeah.
finally finished that off, which is the Garbalgus anthology, which is
Yeah, I thought it. Oh, sorry.
no, sorry.
Yeah, I did see you were also covering. I think it's the Sharp TV show, which I haven't.
Yeah. That's been going. Started that not this Wednesday, but the Wednesday before, and initially that was just going to be once a month, but it turns out that Henry, who I do it with, and now Meta, both for each week, so we're going to end up doing it each week. So I'm planning to work our way through the Sharp TV series for the foreseeable future, then do a review of the film Waterloo, and then do Hornblower, and then do the film Hornblower. But then after that, I'm not sure what we're doing.
So you've been kind of on like a historical adventure kick recently.
Yeah, because back in August, somebody I know called Corsington has a channel. He wanted to do a sort of a live stream review of the whole Hornblower series, and he asked me to rewatch it, so I did. And then after that, I just started watching Sharp again because I really do like those two, and so I just thought I asked Henry if he'd be interested in doing it, and he said yeah. And then I Meta asked if he could come on to some Sharp's Eve, and now he's on with foreseeable future. So yeah.
I still need to watch the Sharp show because I've only read Sharp's Tiger, which is like the first official novel. I know it's not like publication order the first one, but it is like the first one chronologically. It covers invasion. I forget specifically what it's called. I'll have to pull it out here. I'm just sharing all my stuff here.
Mysore they invaded, and you got the main sort of big battle in it is the siege of Seringapatam. It's the Tipu Sultan.
Yes, and Duke of Wellington's there, and he's doing his thing. Hello, Shadia. Thank you for joining in real quick. Oh, we have another guest coming in. He's a usual mainstay on the show, and that is, of course, Raph Blue Text. How you doing, Raph?
Hey, can you see me? Because I don't know what's going on.
I can see you. I
That
can
is
hear
good.
you.
That is even better. But the StreamYard thing was kind of weird with like the camera thing, and it was originally set to the integrated camera of my computer, which is not what you want to see. Trust me.
How's it going?
Going all right. I was reading a book on witchcraft.
Oh, that's always
reasons.
fun.
Well,
Were there Puritans involved?
yes, the book is called "The Devil in the Shape of a Woman: Witchcraft in New England."
Oh, I'll have to check that out. That sounds like my jam.
It's an academic book, so it's pretty dry.
Oh, well, that's a hell of a title for a dry academic text. I'll just say that.
Well, I mean, it's a quote from I think a Cotton Mather text. So you know how it goes. It's like you take like a really spicy quote and you use that as a title for your book.
Well, it'll attract certain readers like myself, and
I mean,
yeah,
like Ronald Hutton's book on druids is called Blood and Mistletoe, and if that's not a cause to buy a book, I don't know what is.
Yeah, but Ronald Hutton is I've read a couple of his books, and I really do enjoy his stuff.
Oh, he's fantastic. I've read like The Witch, obviously Blood and Mistletoe. I've read Triumph of the Moon, the one on modern pagan, like neo-paganism and stuff, and I've read his what's his face, Oliver Cromwell. That's like the 2-volume biography. I've read those. Really good.
Have you read Wolf Hall, Raph?
I heard
that's a really good book about.
That's a different Cromwell.
Oh, there's another Cromwell.
Oh yeah, that's an older Cromwell. That's Thomas Cromwell.
Damn. I'm so. I bet Aaron is just like he's just flabbergasted.
No, that's a different Cromwell. That's Sir Thomas Cromwell, who was on the court of Henry VIII. I keep forgetting what official title he had, and different Cromwell indeed.
Yeah, I think he was Chancellor of the Exchequer, possibly.
That makes sense. Something like that, yes. Like, he was in charge of money and in charge of like doing all the dirty work, and that's why he got killed at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like Henry VIII's guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like he was the guy who like carried out all his stuff when he started going crazy and got really fat.
Yeah, he did like all the work, I guess, or at least a lot of it. Now Oliver Cromwell is like a really fascinating character though, because I had a course in university when I studied history at university on the sort of like influence of Oliver Cromwell. So we were mostly looking like the reception of Oliver Cromwell and the image of Oliver Cromwell through the ages, and that's some very interesting stuff indeed.
Let me look at
so yeah, cool guy. I mean, not so much, but interesting guy.
Oh yeah, no, definitely interesting. I'm not a fan of his side, politically, but he was one of the greatest military commanders in British military history.
Yeah, like he was that, but partly he was just like really lucky, and it's just interesting to see how he like comes out of like basically nowhere, and he's like this no good, like failed sort of like gentry guy who has failed financially and economically and in so many ways, and then suddenly he's like he just like crushes like the Royal Army in so many ways, and you're like, holy shit, where did you hide all of that talent?
Yeah, it's one of those figures where he's the right man at the right time.
Yeah.
And
kind of like Winston Churchill, I guess.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. Especially given his sort of successive failures.
Oh, yeah. Ida is very fascinated by your cat. I think she's referring to Aaron's cat.
Oh, right. Yes, I will introduce him. He won't be very happy about this. So this is Ginge. My creativity was on full display when I chose that name. Yeah. So as you can see, it's not best pleased being old up, so I'll put him down.
Yeah. So I just like started that book on like on New England witchcraft for mostly because I just came across it, and it's free on Audible until Tuesday. So I'm like, yeah, this sounds like something I might want to read. So I better do it now.
So which was the one who like took over and basically became like the Chancellor of England for a while? And
that is Oliver Cromwell.
That's Oliver Cromwell.
The Lord Protector.
Okay.
That is Oliver Cromwell, who then goes and does a bunch of genocide in Ireland. Not that that's very special for like people in charge of England. Right?
There's always genocide going down in Ireland. Yeah.
No, I don't regard it as genocide. And also, I don't regard it as unusual for the period, especially given what's going on in the 30 Years' War in Germany. The idea that somehow unique. And the idea that it's a genocide, for example, the Battle of Drogheda, Drogheda, which just goes down sort of Irish nationalist mythology as a great massacre. Most people don't tell you that, or most people don't know that most of the people defending the place were English royalists. The people fighting the Cromwell's reconquest of Ireland was by no means done with kid gloves, but for the era and the people who was fighting, it wasn't genocide. It was brutal, but it wasn't genocide.
I mean, obviously, the definition of genocide is kind of difficult to do there, but like I think like the main point is that it's very much a form of colonization. If we kind of reapply those terms to like something that far in the past, right? But it's very clearly taking. It's done to exploit Ireland. It's done for religious reasons in a lot of ways. It's done so. There's a lot of stuff. If you want to apply like the legal definition of genocide, which is it's getting very close, is what it is. But like, it's messy. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not going to. In that regard, I think like what England did in like the 19th century, around the great like the potato plague, basically around that time, that is far more condemnable in a lot of ways because that was done purely for economic reasons, and all like.
No, that the famine was not. That was mishandling, especially the Liberal government's mishandling. The famine when it begins.
Liberal government? Thought they'd be more sympathetic to Ireland.
But what happens is that obviously the famine starts under Sir Robert Peel and the Conservative government. Peel does various elements of public works and does actually things start to get better. Then the Liberal government comes in, and they are opposed for there's liberal reasons to these public programs.
Yeah, I think what you need to understand, Britton, is that like liberal in the 19th century British politics is not the same as what you might consider liberal politics today, right? There's a very
I know, yeah. Well, like liberal then was more. I kind of what I think of like as liberalism is like kind of what libertarianism is nowadays.
Well, it's a very kind of different thing, but like, the main issue there is that that Britain, like England at the time, that the British government used basically exported food from Ireland for like economic reasons that could have been.
No, that is not true. That is a complete myth.
That is not a complete myth. I mean, obviously, I don't want to start like an academic like debate with you right now because that's probably derail the whole thing. But like, it kind of depends on like which sources do you have for that? Is what I'm asking.
Look at the government records. Government records show that didn't happen.
Arno, how you doing?
Really is a myth.
I feel like I'd be happy to debate that with you like further, but I think for the sake of Britain's stream, which we don't want to derail completely, we might like we could totally do that like later on through like messages or whatever because
more naturally,
and you can send me your sources and I can send you my sources and we can debate that, but like probably not good to do that right now. We need to console Britain for his like sports trauma from.
My sports ball team lost. I was real mad about that. So we have the OU Texas war, the Oklahoma Texas war every October, and we did not come out looking good. So I mean, it was not fun. But I'm not as angry as I was yesterday, so I'm feeling a little better. But it's still kind of still painful. It's like no.
Was it unexpected? I'm asking this as someone who has like no idea of like American sports because you don't understand what like football is anyway. So
yeah, well, it's no, it was not unexpected, or it was unexpected, I should say. We thought it was going to be at least hard because it's a rivalry game. I did not think we were going to lose, especially that badly. So
okay,
but it was it is what it is.
Who has the strongest sort of tradition of winning in these games? Oklahoma or Texas?
Yes, they did play really badly. They played terribly. Also, it's probably not a great idea to have our leading quarterback come back 17 days after having surgery on his thumb. But
Yeah.
See, but that's the thing. Like, surgery on your thumb should not prevent you from playing football, because what you need for football is like a ball that is ball shaped and feet.
And then you use your foot.
it's it's kind of like rugby. So just think of it like that. It's like rugby in a way.
Yeah, but it's rugby for wimps.
Yeah, pretty much. I had a friend who I had a friend who played rugby, and it's fucking brutal from the sounds of it. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, I know. Like my former flatmate was playing rugby in like the women's rugby team of our university, and those were some really like not people I would like to have like an actual argument with, to put it mildly.
They might have like a CTE episode and like attack you or something. That would
No. They're just like very much willing to like really knock you out.
Oh.
Like, they also tend to be built like brick shit houses.
Yeah, I saw a movie called Invictus. This came out years ago, and it was a film about the end of apartheid in rugby, and it's a solid film. It is a bit Oscar baity, as they'd say in America, but it's interesting. But yeah, no, we just didn't play well, and Texas was like, we're going to come in prepared. So yeah, just I'm sure we'll bounce back. I hope we bounce back anyway. But yeah, it was not good. But yeah, I did finish The Bloody Chamber the other day, kind of going off about books. Which was I enjoyed it. Very British, but I very much enjoyed it. And now, sorry.
Is that Angela Carter?
Yes, Angela Carter. Yeah, it's not very long. It's like 160. My copy's like 162 pages. I then picked up another indie book. I was going to read this last year for Halloween, but I didn't have time to do it. So I picked up A Hot Dose of Hell from Steve Starr. Which I'm having a lot of fun with. It's good old fashioned, pulp fun. It's kind of it was funny. It's kind of like Train Spotting, and then it turns in 28 days later. I'm like, okay, which are two Danny Boyle movies.
Interesting.
There's a lot of it's also very British. There's a lot of British slang in this. So I've texted Steve being like, what does this mean? He'll be like, oh, it's just short for sorry. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Okay.
So it's like a very working class kind of barn burner, if you will.
Sounds fun. Thornol, I have not decided what to read during the winter holidays because
I thought you were reading Twilight for Christmas.
No. The vote. So the poll on which of the 5 series that I have selected from all the suggestions is ongoing until next Sunday, and there's the choice between 5 different series. One of them is the Vlad Taltosh series by Stephen Brust, and one is Dragon Riders of Pern by Anne McCaffrey. One of them is Anita Blake, Vampire Hunter by Laurel K. Hamilton. One is Left Behind by Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins. And the final one is a collection of weird travel adventure stories by German author Karl May. And
oh God.
The poll is ongoing. I know the current status quo, but they're still very, very close together. So every vote counts at this point. There's one selection that is about the current leading one is one vote ahead of everything else. So you can do a lot of damage if you feel like it.
Okay, so having read the Twilight, having read the first Twilight book, and having heard about the Left Behind series, there you've got a choice between it seems like arsenic or cyanide.
I mean, Left Behind's fun. It's a bit ridiculous. It's kind of like a very literal take on Revelations. So I mean,
also a very literal take on a very specific, not necessarily fully supported by the Bible take on Revelation. That is important.
Exactly. Yes.
Sadly, at the moment, Pern is not the winning one. but like all of those 5 still have like a very, very clear chance of winning because like they're all like 1 or 2 votes apart. So it's all very much up in the air.
Yeah, it's yeah, I read those a long time ago because I was kind of on the Book of Revelations kick for whatever reason, and I got all paranoid and started reading Left Behind for whatever reason, and I had fun with it. I mean,
I think
it is very much
helps to understand like when Revelation was actually written, and you understand like the historical context of Revelation.
I've grown older and realized like, okay, there's some of this that's a little silly, but you know, it was kind of freaky for me when I was a kid. I was like, whoa.
Did you know where like Tim LaHaye got his start?
I think you have said this. I think you have
young
said
Tim
this.
LaHaye worked. Young Tim LaHaye was fully employed in the John Birch Society during its founding years.
Oh,
that's where he comes from.
Oh, Shane Boyce, fellow U fan here. He says, "I'm still so angry." Me too, buddy. Oh, it's pain. I need to wear a bag over my head for the next couple days. In all honesty, I'm gonna be in Florida by then, so I'm sure no one will really care that I'm a fan.
Wearing a bag over your head is like a venerable tradition. Thomas Pynchon did it for The Simpsons. You can do that.
Yes, he did. Yeah. You actually read his new book, didn't you, Raph?
I did read Shadow Ticket.
Even made a whole video about it.
I did. I did also really enjoy the new book. It's really good. It's fun. It has all the things I was hoping for with like a new Pynchon novel. You know, like an author like Pynchon is like last book was like in 2012, I think. So it's been like ages, and you're like, holy shit, the man is like 88 years old. He's taken 13 years to write a new book. Will it actually still be good? And it turns out, yes, it's still very good. It's all I want from a Thomas Pynchon novel. Really, really silly jokes, very clear political views, really absurd plot points. It's got all of that. It's fun.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to Vineland before the end of the year because I saw one battle after another, and I'm like, oh well, I gotta go read this now. So that should be fun. I'm hoping. I've heard it's good, though. I've heard some people call it the weakest Thomas Pynchon novel, but I don't know.
That's bullshit. Like every Thomas Pynchon fan will have one book they call the weakest. I've heard people call like Vineland the weakest one. I've heard people call Inherent Vice the weakest one. I've heard people call Bleeding Edge the weakest one. It's like the short ones are all up for grabs, and I feel like a lot of it is just like pretentiousness, where you're like, yeah, I can't call Gravity's Rainbow the weakest one because it's, you know, it won a Pulitzer and it's fucking big and everything.
It won a Pulitzer?
I think no, not a National Book Award. Gravity's Rainbow won one of those like big awards. I keep forgetting which one, but like
yeah, you know, I saw some people complaining on Twitter the other day that Thomas Pynchon didn't win the, I think it was Nobel Prize, or was it?
The Nobel Prize. I mean, he always sort of like
I'm like, that's, I mean, that'd be nice if he won and all, but like, would he show up? Because he's like super.
Of course he doesn't show up. Like an interesting question though is like for the weird like soft Nobel Prizes, you know, like peace, literature, that kind of stuff. I wonder if the behavior of the current American administration kind of makes it harder for like everyone else to win one of those because you don't want to have, you know, you don't want to give those guys a satisfaction.
I don't know. It's. I mean, that's possible.
You can certainly, like, if you look at like international conversations and stuff like that, it's like there's a lot of like goodwill that has been wrecked over the last year, and it does sort of like radiate out, I think. And I'm like, does a President Trump make it harder for like an American to win like a Peace Nobel Prize or a Literature Nobel Prize because of America really sucking?
I don't know. It's Tharnall says the literates in Romania are in uproar because a Hungarian won the Nobel for literature. So I don't know who won the Nobel Prize. I really don't like care about that type of stuff generally, unless it's like Man Booker Prize has some interesting choices. I'm taking a break from it because I'm reading a bunch of, you know, horror
Yeah.
book for the month, but I am reading A Brief History of Seven Killings. So Man Booker often has some interesting reads, but at least A Brief History is an interesting read, though I am leaning on calling it my least favorite Marlon James book at the moment, even though I think it is a very good book in a lot of ways.
I think like the difference though is that something like a Booker Prize, Man Booker or Booker, whatever you know, those are about a specific book, and they are, you know, you have like you have a long list, you have a short list, and so forth. Whereas the Nobel Prize for Literature comes out of like basic nowhere. There's like a group of people going like, we're going to give this person, like, it's more like a lifetime achievement kind of thing, and you don't know it's on the short list. You have like no idea of any of that, which makes it really meaningless in a lot of ways. Like, yeah, it's going to be like someone who's been important in literature somewhere for the last 70, 80 years or whatever, but that's all you kind of know. Is like, who's been around for a long time is probably going to die relatively soon, and that's sort of like how you build your shortlist for like for a Nobel Prize. Whereas for like a Booker, it's like about a specific work, and I think that it's far more like meaningful, because an author can write like a really good book and then write like a really bad book, and it's like, you know what I mean? So I agree that Booker is much more interesting. Pulitzer, the same. You know, those books, those awards are much more interesting because they're about a specific work and not just like the lifetime
like,
kind of thing.
I mean, most other awards I'm not that interested in. Like, the last time I got like really pissed at an award is when I think it was Bram Stoker Award gave Best Novel to The Devil Takes You Home, which was such a god awful novel. I have no frickin' idea how anybody actually. I generally don't say this about books because I try to, you know, at least give the author the benefit of the doubt. But that book was so bad. I am honestly unsure what they were thinking when they gave him that award. Like,
I haven't read it.
I mean, it's. I know you. I was about to say. I know you guys probably don't know what I'm talking about. I gave my copy away because I was so like, this book sucks. But yeah, I'm like this. But yeah, I don't really pay attention to them because I don't like it. I haven't. I've known some people who like the book, and I have talked with them about it, and they understand where I'm coming from. It's just kind of, you know, they like that about the book. It's very like, it's one of those books that's political, but it's not really saying anything interesting about the political content it's bringing up, which pisses me off generally. Because like once you do that, it just kind of sounds like complaining, and I'm like, well, I go on fucking Twitter and, you know, like, go on Twitter and see that. I want to read that in a book. Also, I don't think the story was that good either. Like there are multiple reasons. That's actually the first review I did on my channel, believe it or not, is for that book. So if you want to go watch it and, you know, see my opinion on it, you know, feel free.
Yeah. I sort of pay attention to awards in general, but I find it interesting to see what kind of books get awards, which is sort of like, even if I disagree or I haven't read the book, it gives me sort of like a rough understanding of what, you know, the larger sort of like literary sphere is talking about. And for that regard, for that reason alone, I'm like, yeah, I'm paying attention, because it's like, I may not like whatever book wins a Hugo Award. I may not even have read it, but I think it's important to kind of know what kind of books are, you know, talked about, say for a Hugo, for a Bram Stoker. I try to read the ones that get nominated for like an Ursula K. Le Guin Award, because those are usually really good. And it turns out most of the time I have already read like at least a couple of the ones on the shortlist for that. It's just like interesting to see sort of like what's going on in general, and for that alone, I kind of I appreciate what awards are doing.
It was either Bram Stoker Award or it was the Shirley Jackson Award. I can't remember. Let me, you know what? I'll actually, which you know, I think the Southern Reach trilogy won the Shirley Jackson Award, which I think is well deserved. Those are
sounds more like a Shirley Jackson Award than a Bram Stoker one, I think.
Probably. I don't know. Bram Stoker's, you know, he wrote Dracula all those years ago.
That's a good book. I enjoyed. I enjoyed.
I struggle with that book. It's oddly sexist. Like it's like a weird, like it's a weird, like Victorian sexism. You know, like I get it. You know, time.
I mean, it is a Victorian novel,
like,
right?
Bram Stoker just seems freaked out at the idea that women actually like sex, and that just is really distracting throughout throughout the book. I'm just like, okay, like, all right. He's just like, oh, women like sex, ooh, you know, like straight out of like a Lovecraft fever dream, you know.
I think
Though I don't.
that there's a reason for that, which is like that vampirism, like in general, has always sort of been linked to sexuality in like weird ways, and like a lot of like sexual insecurity has always been tied up in vampire beliefs, which is, you know, why you have a book like Carmilla, which is more or less explicitly about lesbian sexuality, right? And you have the same thing with like Dracula, where like the vampirism
See
makes
you later.
someone like Lucy suddenly act very sexually aggressive for a woman. Like that stuff is sort of like baked into the idea of the vampire in that regard, I think.
Yeah, I do wonder if. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'll let you go, Aaron. What were you about to say?
I just wonder if anyone denies the fact that both Bret Stoker and Le Fanu were both Anglo-Irish. They were effectively ascendancy Protestants. That feeds into it as well.
Yeah, it's true. I know he was Irish.
Being insecure and under threat. In a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what, John? You often say a bunch of weird shit, but that's actually a good point. That's a good point. I didn't think of it like that, but that's true. No, but yeah, no. I like Frankenstein a lot more, which I know is probably kind of a cold take because Frankenstein's relatively popular on BookTube, which kind of surprises me because it's a deeply like probing, like philosophical work. Which, you know,
Yeah.
I'm glad a bunch of people are liking it, but, you know, it's not generally a book that you see like mainstream. I would expect like mainstream BookTube to appreciate, you know.
I think it works really well because it does sort of like touch on like a lot of things that are really like, I mean, it's called the modern Prometheus for a reason, right? Like a lot of like stuff that we wrestle with in modernity is always sort of tied into the whole Frankenstein kind of idea of like building something that maybe overtakes us, and you can find all kinds of ways of reading that book, and I think that's why it stayed very, very, you know, up to sort of like very relevant in a lot of ways, I think, and that's why Frankenstein works so well.
Yeah, it's a good book. Yeah. I do think it's a little how do I describe it? I do think it's a bit long. I do think she could have cut some stuff and it would have been fine, personally speaking, but I think it's a very good novel nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean,
she was like 18 when she wrote it, so I'll cut her some slack.
And it was written during like a writing competition. Like, I mean, it's pretty fucking impressive. Like, no matter what, like I could not write that book, is what I'm saying. No, I found it interesting when I read the Blood in the Machine by Brian Merchant that I always bring up and that you're aware of because you saw it in the bookstore. That Merchant does like, because Mary Shelley and obviously Percy Shelley were like relatively involved during like those general unrest, like the Luddite uprising is a part of, and that a lot of that kind of filters into the way that Mary Shelley talks about technology or like invention in a lot of ways, is this idea like you build something and then suddenly it kind of takes you over, and that sort of like early industrial, like full industrial revolution, but like late 18th century, early 19th century industrialization kind of stuff filtered into sort of the understanding of what science can do, and that maybe we should be careful of because we don't necessarily understand like the consequences of science, that it's in that regard like a sort of like filtered through that aspect as well. It's like, it's maybe not my number one reading, but it's certainly not like the least, you know, least reasonable like reading you can have of that book in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's a good book. I like it. I mean, it's a classic for a reason, as people like to say. Though I'd say my favorite of like the classic horror stories is like The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I just love that story.
That's a pretty good one.
And Treasure Island's a lot of fun too. So
Treasure Island is really good. Treasure Island, I think, is like often underrated because everyone's like, "Oh, it's like a children's book," and like, yes, but there's a lot in there for like a children's book. You know what I mean?
yeah, like there are moments from that book I remember specifically. So yeah, it's a good book. I enjoy it. It's just kind of I like Jekyll and Hyde more. There's something about
Yeah.
the
Yeah, Chadia, you're right. Like Summer Dev certainly has Frankenstein vibes in there in a lot of ways. I agree with that.
oh sweet.
And I would not
What are
be
you listening to, Demidrick?
Hmm?
Sorry, Raph, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was asking
no.
Demidrick what he's specifically listening to. Is it the one he had with like Coltrane and is it the one he had with like Coltrane and Philly Joe Jones, or was it the one with Tony Williams and Herbie Hancock? Because he had a couple of quartets and quintets. Samar Dev, the Raph, do you know who that is? That sounds very obscure.
I know who that is. It's a character in the Malazan Book of the Fallen, and she shows up
so
for
not
the first. No, she shows up in. Let me think. I think the Bone Hunters for the first time. So book 6, and she's an inventor who invents all kinds of machines and stuff, and is like a very, very clearly like a scientist who sometimes struggles with the fact that science does have, sometimes science comes up against barbarians with plot armor, which is which is not what you want your science to have, what you want to happen to your science.
That's a good point. So, Aaron, what are you reading at the moment? Or I don't know if we already talked about it.
Oh, no, I've got a couple of things I have read and want to read. So I've read recently 2 indie books. So one is The Curse of Six by Mark Bates, which is about a man who is dealing with a curse, as the title would suggest. So really good. It's his first novella. I'm going to be interviewing him at some point in the future. So I really did enjoy it. It's only 97 pages long, I think. Let me just double check. Yeah, and so really interesting read. The other one is the third one in a series called Spectro Slammers. Part of Spectro Solutions, and there's it's written by Ayn.
It looks very pulpy.
Oh yeah, it's very much it's very quick. It's 100 and odd pages. Very fast paced, very action packed. It's A.M. Walter, who wrote, is a big fan of Ghostbusters, so it's very much inspired by that, and it's written for a younger audience, and so it's got not much sort of explicit language in there. Though I've got to say, when I read it, my brain does translate the words into their original Anglo-Saxon, so it's sort of I think more interesting experience for me reading it than most other people. But, they're really good series, really entertaining and fast-paced, and you can get through them quite quickly, and they're really enjoyable. So they're the 2 I read. And I'm now going to start, after we've finished here, Mordecai trilogy. So these are books by Kirill Bonfiglione from the 70s, and they're about a crooked art dealer called Charlie Mordecai, who I guess involved in various sort of...
Is that the same as that movie they made with Johnny Depp a few years ago?
We don't speak about that movie.
Oh, okay.
That movie is bloody awful. It's a terrible adaptation of the first book. Well, technically it was meant to be an adaptation of all 3 books, but it didn't succeed in any of them. They're really entertaining books, though. They're quite short, and again, they're fast-paced, and they have plots, but the plots don't necessarily matter. It's more the way that the main character, Charlie Mordecai, is explaining what's going on that's entertaining. And they're really darkly comic, because he gets involved in all sorts of things. Like in the second book, he gets blackmailed into attempting to assassinate the Queen.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I support assassinating queens. It's generally a good idea. Like, broadly, I'm in favor of that.
One of my kind of favorite guilty pleasure movies is Oh God, it's Johnny English, but it's the sequel to Johnny English. Like, it's a stupid movie, but it is hilarious. Like, I love it. It's just seeing Rowan Atkinson, do his thing and just get absolutely punished throughout the entirety of the movie. And there's a scene where like someone's acting like the queen, and he's like, oh crap, and he has to figure it out, and then he beats up the real queen, and he's like, oh my God, and that's the end of the movie. I remember that. That's the end of the film. Where he's like, oh, we caught the assassin, and he's like, crap.
My favorite, like I say, one of my favorite bits is from the end of the first film, where John English is given that description of the person who committed the crime. The end of near the beginning of the film. At the end of the film, you get a picture. It's completely made up. It's a completely ridiculous person. And then near the end of the film, Johnny English and the main female lead are walking along, and a man who looks exactly like that ridiculous photo of it appears.
Oh no. Those are pretty good movies. I enjoy them. Again, very British. Which I like British comedy, so that works out for me. Like one of my ideas of a good time is like putting on Blackadder and going nuts.
Yeah, I mean Blackadder is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That actually might be my favorite like Rowan Atkinson thing he's ever done, even above like Mr. Bean. I really enjoy Blackadder a lot. He is really fun in that.
Have you seen the sketches he did for Not the 9 o'clock news?
What'd you say?
Have you ever seen any of the Rowan Atkinson sketches he did for Not the 9 o'clock news?
Oh no, I haven't. No.
Oh, they're funny. The BBC sort of sketch show in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. There's a very famous one where you've got Rowan Atkinson in a gorilla suit, and you've got Mel Smith, and essentially Mel Smith is talking about how he found Gerald the gorilla in the jungle and trained him to talk. And there's a very famous line where Mel Smith says, "When I found him, he was furious." And Rowan Atkinson says, "I wasn't furious. I was livid."
Oh.
And then there's another one. There's a very funny one where they parody him and Mel Smith again do an interview thing, except they're parodying the reaction to Monty Python Life of Brian, because there's a very famous interview that John Cleese and Michael Palin did with Malcolm Muggeridge and a Anglican bishop, and they parody it, and it's really funny, especially if you've seen the original real interview. Just watching it where the conceit is that the filmmaker is a clergyman who's made a film about the life of Jesus Christ, and the film is claiming that they're parodying Python. Monty Python is a religion, and the Christianity is this film about Christ is parodying particularly the life of John Cleese.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those. I'll have to find them. I'm sure they're on the internet. I also like a bit of Fry and Laurie as well. They're always fun together. They're also in Blackadder, and they're great in that too.
Have you ever seen them in the Jeeves and Wooster?
Oh, I haven't. No, I always feel awkward about watching the adaptation before I read the books. But I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very funny, and they get the relationship right between the two characters perfectly.
Yeah, there's like a lot of like British TV in the 90s that like people remember quite fondly. Like, I know Raph doesn't really care for Bernard Cornwell, but I know the Sharp. We were talking about the Sharp show earlier. I still need to see that.
I haven't read any of the Sharp books. I've heard good things about them, so I have no opinions on Sharp.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know you like Flashman though, so
I like Flashman a lot. Because
those are ones I've wanted to read for a long time, because I've heard it's a good example of like a protagonist who is just unrepentantly terrible.
He like Harry Flashman is a massive dick, by which I mean he's like he treats everyone like shit. He's a sexist. He's a like, not to put too fine a point on it, it's like he's very much a rapist, and he constantly he constantly like gets like people that are in his way. He kind of gets them killed in all kinds of ways by being just like dick and pulling rank on them and being. He's an absolute fucking bastard. But because you're reading all of this like as his narrative, you constantly see him trying to justify what he's doing, and it's impressive. Like, George MacDonald Fraser is an incredible writer. Like, a lot of fun, but you have to understand that you're not supposed to like Flashman. You're not supposed to root for that guy.
Yeah, they're also really historically accurate as well.
Flashman was like a studied historian, right? Like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's events in there that you, when you read them, you don't think they're true, but then you look at the history, you find it's history. Like when in Flashman the Charge, when he goes to tell the cabinet about the orders, and you've got Gladstone playing croquet on the lawn, and most of the cabinet are asleep drunk. And you think that's not true, but then you look at it, you think, yeah, that's really.
You're really enticing me to read these books. Yeah, I've heard they're not very long too, so that's good.
No, they're relatively short. And they're a lot of fun. They're like really interesting. Like they're really good historical fiction.
Yeah.
And I really love like for my pirate thing when I knocked out the 230 this year. I did.
Yeah, you read one of his books for your pirate thing. You were
for that I read The Pirates, which is absolutely fantastic if you like pirate movies. And if you understand what's wrong with like 50s Hollywood, if you understand all of those things, The Pirates is a fantastic book. It does have like a couple of like turns of phrase that have not necessarily aged well. You probably would not get away with like publishing in those kind of like words today, which is understandable. It's sort of like that moment when you are doing like humor and you're trying to when you're parodying racism by using racist terminology, you can go too far, I guess, in a way. And he's certainly very, very much balancing on that edge a lot of the time, because there's a lot of like weird racism against the Spanish, against like the French, against like, I mean,
those Brits, they're always just.
Yeah, that's one. It's very clearly written from a British perspective, and it's racist against the Irish, against the French, against the Spanish.
Basically, anyone who isn't everyone. Like a proper Englishman. I hear you.
He's even and if you can get away with it, he's also classist against like against other Brits. So it's fantastic. It's really good. There's a lot of like really clever stuff in there. Once again, because Fraser knows his history, so there's like weird details in there that are just like ridiculously funny. And then you go like, oh shit, that's true.
And there's another book, one of the last books he wrote, non-Flashman books, called The Reavers. It's written very much in the style of pirates, but it's effectively parodying things like, essentially Elizabethan stuff. So the 40s, 30s and 40s Hollywood epics that were Francis Drake and Walter Raleigh.
I haven't read that one. The one that I really want to read is Black Ajax, the one about the boxer.
Yeah.
Oh man, he's written a lot. Like, I mean, he was Flashman. He did some history stuff, memoirs.
It's like a memoir about his time in the army in like World War II as well.
How about that?
Yes, when he was fighting in Burma against the Japanese. I think it's called Posted Out Here, something like that. And then there's also the McCausland stories.
Yeah.
About the Scottish soldier, about a Scottish regiment during World War II, immediately afterwards. It's based on his experience.
Also wrote Octopussy from James Bond.
He did write. That's the point. Like that's why his like stuff like the Pirates works so well, because he was like he did like a lot of like screenwriting for Hollywood. He did write the screenplay for like Octopussy.
Ooh, there's a Flash movie with Malcolm McDowell. I will have to see that because I love Malcolm McDowell. He's fantastic.
That's not too bad.
What did you say?
That's not too bad. The Flashman film. It's a Raw Flash, I think it is. The film is based on the original book. Yes, but also he did the Three Musketeers film and the Four Musketeers with Michael York and Oliver Reed and Frank Finley and Richard Chamberlain, which are really good. And they're, if you like the Pirates book and you've not seen those films, I recommend you watch it. You'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, but generally, like George MacDonald Fraser, incredibly underrated like author when it comes to like contemporary like sort of like book discourse, which is an absolute shame because that man knew how to write.
Yeah, you know, I find there's a bunch of authors who don't get like the respect they deserve, which I know that's just kind of a given with life, unfortunately. But
that's like 99% of authors.
Yeah, I mean, most of the authors we celebrate today were kind of overlooked in their time too. So I mean, I guess it's nothing really changes there. Like,
to be fair, the number one sort of like public like person that constantly praises George MacDonald Fraser and Flashman is George R. Martin. George R. Martin
really?
is a huge Flashman fan. Yeah.
I knew he liked Bernard Cornwell. I didn't know he liked. Flashman.
No, he liked Flashman a lot.
Yeah.
He's been like in like his like back when I still read his blog, like somewhere between Storm of Swords and Feast for Crows. He was constantly praising Flashman, going like, "Hey, you got to read Flashman." It's like, yeah, Cornwell is like Flashman, like Sharp is like Flashman with like less ridiculous humor in it.
Yeah, I did read some of his blog a few months ago, maybe, and he really liked Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. So I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I know.
Also, apparently, Michael Moorcock wrote the foreword for I think it was the Folio edition. It's like, damn, should I get the Folio edition? Oh God, that's a shitload of money though.
For which one?
Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. They put it in Folio. I was like, I don't know if I want to get that. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. It's a good book though.
It is. But yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I want to read Flashman at some point. I just haven't found the time for it yet.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is like you can just like read some of them and then go back later because they're each sort of like an episode in like British history, and you can always go back and like they're all like they don't end on like a cliffhanger or anything. You can always just like read one of them and read another one like a year later or whatever. So it's easy to just like pick one. Yeah.
Mac was actually mentioning earlier Master and Commander, which I've heard the movie is amazing. I want to see. I want to see that movie at some point. It's just, I think it's actually on Tubi if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong on that. But
I have no idea.
I've heard that film's really good.
I still have to venture to that one. The thing is, like, I've read like way too many Hornblower novels. Because
that's another one I need to read. Hornblower. I know that kind of inspired all the like kind of British soldier books that came after it.
I inherited those from I think my grandfather, like my mother's father, because I found like a book with like the Hornblower books in German. So I've never read them in English, but like I found those like in like a bookshelf like when he passed away, and that's when I read them as a kid. So I grew up with a lot of Hornblower books, and then I never graduated
or I guess those technically aren't pirate books. It just takes place in the sea, but I don't know.
No, they're all about like fighting Napoleon.
Yeah.
It's always like Britain is just really obsessed with fighting. They're always like, oh yeah, we beat Napoleon, haha.
I mean, the thing is, like, if you want to talk about like a really good British Navy, and you don't want to get into like all the stuff around imperialism, then like fighting Napoleon is sort of like
that's a good point. Yeah,
you know, the same way that when Americans try to tell war stories where they're the good guys, they talk about World War II because that's fighting the Nazis. And if you're a British person, you talk about fighting Napoleon because you're clearly the good guy when you're fighting Napoleon. So,
but were they though? Were they? That's a thing.
Yes.
I am very Napoleon agnostic.
We gotta get rid of this Corsican guy.
I am very Napoleon agnostic.
Though, I mean, I will say though, it is kind of funny that like I always notice in like a bunch of, because I've watched a bunch of stuff on like YouTube about Napoleon. Like England, man, they just had like a bottomless pit of money, and they were just chucking it everywhere. Like everybody was fighting Napoleon. It is ridiculous. And then finally, Wellington is like, okay, we got to get everyone together. We're gonna beat this guy, and that's what they did. So
Yeah.
Respect to Wellington, of course.
Yeah. Nah, it's so. I think like the Napoleon thing is that it is a relatively clear-cut sort of thing, and it's in a lot of ways. So I think it lends itself to like storytelling in a way that like later stuff also doesn't necessarily, because it gets like super messy easily when you have like, you know, World War II, World War One is fucking messy. You don't want to read about those kind of stories, but like fighting Napoleon on the high seas, that's cool. You can. Although to be fair, like Hornblower does have like scenes of like press ganging and stuff like that, where like where you realize that, you know, it's kind of fucked up when you're just like somewhere and, you know, the army just runs into your place and just like kidnaps you and puts you on a boat because you're young enough to be, you know, press ganged.
No, just correct you, Ralph. It's a navy. The army was never allowed to do that. Much to the chagrin of people.
Yeah. You're right. It's the navy, really. You know.
That's why the War of 1812 started, because it kept press ganging our sailors.
See, like one of those like really weird things, like with translations, is because navy translates to in German. The German word for navy is Marine, which like you spell like Marines, but like the Marines are clearly not the navy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you know. I just figured this out not too long ago, that the Marines, the American Marines, are a subsect of the Navy.
Yeah.
I just realized that not too long ago, and I just was super embarrassed that I didn't pick that up till now, because I've heard of stuff like marine biologist and marine, you know, trader. I'm just that never clicked in my mind for whatever reason. I don't know. It was.
No, in Germany, the navy in general is called Marine, which, you know, makes sense because it's, you know, on the sea. They're doing marine things.
Just on that, Britton, that issue about the Navy and the Marines. My cousin is in the Royal Marines, and whenever anybody says he's in the Army, he says, no, I'm in the Navy, not the Army.
Yeah, I'm like, I was telling somebody, I forget who it was. I'm like, I thought like Marines were like a subsect of the Army or something. Like, oh no. They will. You might get threatened for that or something. They'll get pissed off at you for saying that. And I'm like, all right, I'll remember.
Yeah, like a friend of mine, like 2 weeks ago, was at a metal festival, and like one of the bands played, and like one of the guitar players of that band is like, I've known him for like ages, and like he just finished his like officer course, and he's now going on. Yeah, he's joined the Navy, and he's
a metal rocker and in the Navy. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he like officer training and everything. He's joining like
So he's gonna be like taking a break from the band? Is he leaving the band?
I mean, they're like the kind of band that like practices every couple of months and plays like one show per year, so it's fairly easy, I guess. But
okay.
Yeah, he's going...
I'm like, damn.
I guess they're gonna figure that stuff out once he has like his schedule, because it's like you finish like officer academy and then you go to like the coast, and then you get like assigned to a ship, and then you have to figure out how the schedule actually works and so forth. But yeah.
Yeah,
which is, you know, being assigned to doing like an intelligence gathering ship in the Baltic right now is certainly interesting.
You know, I actually watched a video the other day about the Russo-Japanese War in like 1905.
Ooh,
what an incompetent shit show that was.
The fleet of death, the absolute fucking fleet of death that the Russians sent around the entire world.
How they haven't made a dark comedy out of this, I have no idea, because they definitely should. It is insane, the crazy stuff that they did.
That Russian
fishing
fleet
boats didn't hit anything. Like, oh, it is insane. It is absolutely insane. I'm like, they should make a movie out of that. It would be
I think it's
great.
like the kind of stuff that is so far beyond like anything you can, you know, actually make like a credible movie, and people will just accuse you of being ridiculous. It's like, no, that's actually what happened. And then like the entire ship was infested with like fucking reptiles and stuff.
Yeah, I'm just like, what the fuck's going on? What even? And apparently, like, they got a parrot and it started cursing in Russian. I'm like, this is fantastic. This is great.
I mean, the whole idea, like sending like your fleet from the Baltics to Japan around like through the Channel, all around Africa, all the way to fucking Japan is like.
Oh, it was a disaster. I should just note if that didn't already give it away. It's fantastic. I love it. It's so good.
No, it's absolutely fascinating. And like what's so interesting about the whole thing is like you have the Russo-Japanese War, right? And like all of the rest of the world is like they're observing the war, and everyone is like, yeah, the Russians going to win, but we're going to observe on the Japanese side because we really hate the Russians, but we're all racist against the Japanese, so we don't expect them to win. Then the Japanese win because the Russians really, really fucked that one up. And then everyone still underestimated the Japanese afterwards when it comes to World War II. And it's like, you guys were there. You gave them all the technology. You watched them beat the Russians. And you're surprised that they're suddenly, doing a Pearl Harbor. Like, what the fuck? It's like, it's not like you haven't had, like, warnings.
Yeah, no. Oh, it's entertaining to read about. It's definitely entertaining to read about the absolute disaster that was the Russian fleet trying to go over to Japan. It's so good.
It's a lot of fun. All right, I'm gonna get myself another beer though.
All right.
Britton, speaking about that, have you ever read the battle of Karen?
Have I read what?
It's about. Have you ever heard about the Battle of Karen? It's Karen Neberes. It was now. Right, you'll enjoy this. It's in 1788, and the Austrians are going to war with the Austrian Empire.
Oh God!
Right, I don't know. It gets better because this is a battle where the Austrians are defeated and the Ottomans are not involved. So what happens is a group of Austrian cavalrymen go out. I think it's cavalrymen. They go out and they find near this place called Canaribes, and they get drunk.
Oh no!
And they come in. They whilst they're drunk and they're trying to make their way back to camp. A group of soldiers, infantrymen in the Austrian army. I think the cavalrymen were Hungarian, and the infantrymen might have been actually Austrian. They each confuse each other for the Ottomans, and so they both flee back to the camp, each shouting, "The Ottomans are coming! The Ottomans are coming!" The first group that gets back raided all the camp, and so they start retreating. And then when the other group arrive, they start shooting at them, and the whole thing turns into a complete disaster, and they have to retreat.
It sounds, that sounds actually like when America tried to invade Canada during the Revolutionary War, which was another disaster. And Americans kept mistaking each other for the British and shooting at each other. Oh my God, that's terrible.
Wait, you're talking about like the attempt to actually invade like Montreal, or which one are you talking about?
Yeah.
Ooh, that was bad.
Yeah, no. America has never been successful at trying to invade Canada. The Canadians, there's either America was just super incompetent, which that's definitely a possibility, or the Canadians are much craftier than we suspected. It's not all maple syrup over there.
Both could be true at the same time.
That's true as well.
Another one of like my favorite, like weird, like
also it showed how much of a stubborn jerk Benedict Arnold was.
Oh yeah, definitely. Those like recently I watched.
America.
I don't know if you watched that, like what's his name, Atunche films, like a history
he's
YouTube
great,
guy. He recently tried to do the Benedict Arnold trip to Montreal with like a friend, like just like to actually march there and take a paddle up the rivers and everything, and it apparently is like very, very hard even today to do that road. That approach is not exactly easy.
Yeah, no, but yeah, no, the battle you're describing, Aaron, reminds me of that.
Yeah. Oh, another one that you might want to check out, which is really fascinating, is the Czech Legion during the Russian Civil War.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So because they capture like an armored train, and they just want to go home to Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia at the time, whatever it was at that time, and that's kind of difficult during the Russian Civil War. And where they end up with that captured armored train and all kinds of stuff they stole on the way and captured on the way, which includes like a bunch of like Tsarist gold and all kinds of stuff, is they end up in fucking Manchuria. And that armored train is then taken over by like a Chinese warlord during the Chinese civil wars at the time, and
Oh no.
then taken over by a Japanese general, like once Japan invades Manchuria. So, and it's ridiculous when you look at like the way they travel, like. They want to go into like the opposite direction, but if you're kind of confined to like a train, you're kind of confined to like a rail network, and that limits your options.
Yeah, it's there've been a lot. There's an old saying, history would be hilarious if people didn't die.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's true,
Yeah.
It also probably, going back to the Russia thing, it probably doesn't help. You got like a bunch of like inexperienced peasants to help you with your war effort. That's probably not the best idea that's ever been come up with.
To be fair,
actually, I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
Kind
if
of the idea
peasants.
that like most of history has been like a bunch of peasants getting like weapons in their hands and getting told to run in like one direction. That's how we've done war for like 90% of history.
Yeah, I actually watched something about the Crimea War the other day, or this was a few months ago, because Extra History made a fun series about it. I don't know if either of you have ever watched them, but they make some good videos. Yeah, it was interesting seeing like how the British fought in comparison to how the French fought, because the French were more like, okay, we're gonna rank people based on merit. We don't want a French Revolution thing happening again. While British was still kind of doing the thing they were doing back in the Napoleonic era.
I think
so it was really interesting learning about all the stuff.
The charge of the Light Brigade. The charge of the Light Brigade is kind of proof that even if you have like supposedly well-trained people with well-trained officers, it does not actually make them smarter or better at war than like a bunch of untrained peasants at the end of the day.
Yeah, with the Light Brigade.
I mean, Aaron, what do you think about the charge of the Light Brigade? You're very pro-British, I know.
With that, it does see there's a big question of what happened between the orders going from Ragland to going to Lucan and Cardigan, because about going for the Turkish guns, and it's a question there. And whilst Cardigan was not the most intelligent of men, there is a question of whether he was actually being foolish or whether he was being given this order thinking, right, well, I can't disobey an order given from the commander-in-chief, and I know what's going to happen, but there is a debate there over whether it was his foolishness or whether it was saying, I've got to do this. It's just,
Yeah, and I think I guess what we often forget is that like the idea that like lower rank officers are allowed to question orders when they see that the situation, to actually make choices based on like the actual situation. That's a very, very modern idea when it comes to warfare. So I'm not faulting him for what he did there in that situation, because that's like the military culture at the time in a lot of ways, right? The idea that you can actually question orders if the situation kind of warrants that is very new.
They also believed in like the call to the offensive, which is basically like if you're going on offense, you're gonna do better basically. Which again, this is very dumbed down. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff.
And also with the British Army in this period, you've got it's known that
that's why World War I was such a clusterfuck, because they kept thinking that was still a thing. When it's like, no, we have all this technology now, we're gonna have to fight a little differently. Which, I can't really blame them, because that's how they were taught, Same thing with the Civil War in America.
And I think it's more like the question is like, how long does it take you to actually adapt and understand that you are like up against like a new paradigm? That's like usually questions. Like that's still like the thing you see in like Russia in Ukraine right now, right? You have one army that is very clearly following certain like older traditions, and one army that is very clearly adapting, and like the paradigms have shifted in a lot of ways. And that is always sort of like the question is like, how much do you adhere to tradition? Because a tradition is important, right? Tradition makes a lot of sense. It's kind of what you need to sort of like keep an army going in a lot of ways. You need to have like those rigid structures, because otherwise the whole thing breaks down. And then having like the agility or like flexibility on the ground, it's a weird balance to strike as far as I can tell. And it's like, no army will ever be perfect at that, and it's usually sort of like the situation kind of tells you which one is better at it, and sometimes it's one army, sometimes it's the other, and there's like no fixed sort of like understanding there, because that shit is weird, I guess.
And it also depends on how long the army in question's been fighting sort of major wars. So if you look at if it's just over the Crimea with the British Army,
Yeah,
though they've been fighting minor colonial wars, they haven't fought a major war in the style of Crimea since 1815, and so the army's got sort of rotated the officer corps. You haven't had what you had during the French Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars, where the officer corps is essentially purged through retirement and death for competent officers.
Yeah.
And so if the Crimea, you get that. And also, there's the fact that Raglan wasn't Wellington. Wellington understood logistics in a way that Raglan didn't. And so the British Army, the early disasters of the British Army is essentially resting on the laurels of Waterloo, whilst not carrying on Wellington's understanding of logistics. However, during the course of that war, the British Army does learn. And also,
they introduced the first tank, if I remember correctly, in World War One.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But within the Crimea, you have a sort of commission. The Royal Commission looks into sort of what went wrong in the Crimea. It's whitewash. However, the army does in fact change, and so and then you go forward almost 50 years to the Second World War. You get the same thing again. Almost 50 years of not fighting a proper major war against a almost near peer, and you have the disasters of the first year or two of that war, and then the British Army learns. And that means, and so reforms come in the Edward year, and that means when the British Army goes to war in 1914, it is actually very effective.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the same thing. Like when you look at like the 19th century, right? Like with like the French-Prussian War, right? In like 1870, 71, right? You have the same thing where like the French army is like very much sort of like we're doing the Napoleon thing.
Oh, that was like the master stroke of one of my personal favorite historical figures, Otto von Bismarck. The guy was a frickin' G, as far as I'm compared. I don't really agree with his politics, but man, was he a fun character. Man, was he an interesting character. I don't know, well, I should say I don't know if I would agree with his politics, but man, what a fun character in history. What a life he led.
The thing with Bismarck is that's so fascinating is like the longer he stayed in power, the more he was like frustrated with like the fact that he's chancellor, but the Kaiser is still in charge. And if you have like the wrong kind of Kaiser, you're kind of fucked. Even if you're Bismarck, it's like, no, that's a really dumb idea. We shouldn't do that.
Yeah, and the Kaiser's
fuck
like,
you, Bismarck. I'm Kaiser.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and it's just like, well,
but my point with like the Prussian-French War is that Prussia has invested in like modern technology and like new steel cannons and all of that kind of stuff. Modern technology, like the Prussian army is really good at that time, and the French army is just still run on like Napoleonic basically principles in a lot of ways, and using fucking bronze or whatever fucking cannons, and that's why like Prussia kind of just like walks all over the whole thing. And then you go to World War One, you see like the Austro-Hungarian army, for example, is stuck so much in the fucking past at that point that they the only reason that like the front between like the Austro-Hungarians and the Austrians and the Italians is not like a one-sided kind of thing is that the Italians are also fucking incompetent at the time.
Yeah, World War One was just a mess.
World War One is an absolute. It's unnecessary. It's like everyone is kind of. We really want a war. We kind of need a war right now.
A guy in like Austro-Hungary, or it wasn't. No, it was a guy in Serbia gets shot, and everyone gets all pissed off and starts shooting at each other. Like,
no, he doesn't. He doesn't get shot in Serbia. He gets shot by separatists in Sarajevo, which is in Bosnia, which at the time was a part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Serbia was already independent, but he was supposedly shot by Serbian separatists. That's the kind of thing.
Supposedly, do you think it wasn't Gabriel Princip?
It's really complicated. So Gabrielo Princip is a Bosnian and a Bosnian separatist, and he was supposedly like he maybe got his weapons from guys in like he got his weapons in Belgrade, which is in Serbia, but
no.
It kind of gets difficult to see if that was like an official kind of thing or not, because obviously, like, it's messy. And I obviously also very much support the idea that Bosnia wants to be like its own country. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, and then Germany and Britain and England and France, like, yeah, let's fight each other. Why not?
I mean, like everyone was basically waiting to have like a reason for a war for like a long time. Everyone has been building up their armies. Everyone's building up their fleets and all that stuff. I mean, it was sort of like a matter, like just a matter of time. But there was like no really good reason to fight because you could have basically just like, not done that.
I mean, the big sort of event to my mind that causes World War One after the Austrians assassinated is the fact that the Austrians don't act. If the Austrians had just invaded, they'd gone to declared war on Serbia within the first week or so, the rest of Europe would have just said, "Okay, yes, they supported regicide, deal with them." But it's because the Austrians wait so long, and then everybody else gets drawn in one way or another. So
yeah,
it just leads you to 94, 94.
I mean, like the big mistake is like Germany giving Austria basically carte blanche and going like, yeah, we'll support you no matter what, and then from there it kind of all collapses in all kinds of ways, and it's a mess. It's dumb and it's incredibly painful because like no one has actually fought like a war with that technology at that point, and then they all kind of use that new technology and go like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's a war where people with World War I, people commonly talk about machine guns as it's actually the artillery. It's the fact that you've got snipers powder and they can fire shells far further and you can stop enemies advancing, and that's the big sort of change. Obviously you saw a bit of it in the Russo-Japanese war around Port Arthur, but it was not really significant enough for people to comment on to take that away from it. And so as you say, when it comes to August 1914, they just it's a Britain, as it were. It comes to German warfare.
Well, Chadia says even now Russia sent a lot of unexperienced people to the war. That's true. I mean, even Stalin was psychopath that he was during the invasion. He's like, let's send all these like criminals and like peasants out and give them like half the guns and just let them get killed. It's fine. You know, we'll do that. Before he had like a nervous breakdown, and then his generals were like, hey, let us take the reins. You just go back to your hidey hole. And he's like, okay, good. Because Stalin, in a very uncharacteristically stupid move, decided to get rid of all of the good generals that were left over from, Yeah. I'll give Hitler this. He wasn't stupid enough to kill all of his good generals. He did alienate them though, because
Hitler was really good at crippling German generals and German war efforts during World War II. Though, like if you look at like World War II, holy shit, like both of them are not exactly the biggest sort of like brains when it comes to military strategy. And I'm not. I mean, at the end of the day, Stalin won, and I'm not going to say that's whether.
Well, it's because it's usually a bad idea to invade Russia. Just. You'd think that Hitler would have known because of what Napoleon did in 1812, but
but he read all these Karl May books that told him how to do strategy. Apparently, like, and I still need to verify that, but like the legend goes, and I need to find the actual source, that he did in fact send generals on the Eastern Front like Karl May novels to read up on strategy, which is. Just like one of the reasons why I decided to put them on the list for like this year's like winter holiday reading, because that's ridiculous.
No, it's so it's I guess that's par for the course is what I'm saying. Which like I was reading actually Sharp's Tiger, and it's kind of all about that, because Sharp basically has to kind of work up to be in the Wellingtons, kind of become like a favored person of Wellington, and like there's a lot of the class differences. A lot of class differences I thought were well done. That's what I'm getting at. Oh, nothing, Tharnall. We were just talking about history and people bungling invasions. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, you guys didn't respond. I thought like I was cutting up or something. I was telling Tharnal what he missed while he was gone.
we talked about like how war is mostly stupid. And mostly done by stupid people making stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
And even smart people make stupid mistakes in war. And that's usually what we kind of figure out
Napoleon
afterwards.
thinking, you know what? While I'm dealing with this Spanish clusterfuck, let's go invade Russia. How could that possibly go wrong? You know, like stuff like that.
I feel like invading Russia is a bit like, you know, that thing when you're like on like a high building or like a precipice and you're standing right next to it, you have this like weird urge to step over the thing. I feel like if you get to the borders of Russia and you have an army, you have this like weird urge to invade Russia, and it's like it happens to the smartest fucking people. It's like, I'm not calling Hitler smart here, but like Napoleon certainly wasn't, you know, the worst of like military strategists. But like you end up with an army at the border of Russia, and you're like, I guess I kind of have to now. It feels like and if there's like one thing I've learned over the years from studying history, is like you can invade Russia successfully, but you have to do it from the east.
Yeah. And you notice that there's one mistake they always make, which is they think if you capture Moscow, the Russians will give in. They'll just bugger off further east. Further east, sorry.
Also, Russia just has some really hardcore people because, like, man, like, they don't. I mean, I guess getting invaded will, you know, piss people off. I mean, obviously, but man, like Russia, they don't play, man. They're like. Then again, they've been getting raw dogged by history, so I guess they don't really have much patience for people trying to invade them.
The other thing that we often kind of misunderstand, because like, you know, geography is kind of hard to understand. Like, Russia is insanely huge.
It is,
like,
yeah.
It's big, like very big. It's bigger than Canada, and Canada is fucking huge.
Yeah, I mean, and then Napoleon fights probably the single like bloodiest day at Borodino, and is like, you know what? I'm still gonna go to Moscow because you know what? It's not really a shock though what happened.
And Thornell, you're right. According to me, and I believe that in the future we'll all be very, very stupid. That is just like the truth. But that's my point, Thornell. Like, from the east, conquering Russia from the east is really easy. But also, you don't conquer Russia. You just like use it as sort of like you pass through.
Yeah.
And I believe that might work the other direction as well. So you go like, well, we'll just like, you know, do some light plundering and marauding, and we'll just like our goal is actually go through. Then that might work. Like conquering the place, it's too big. Anyway, yes, Joe, we were talking about that football thing, and
yes,
from what I've heard, it was a glorious victory for someone in Texas.
Yes, it was. There was a couple of weird games yesterday, but you know, it's all good. It's not good. I still feel badly, but you know, it was a day. Take care, Chadia. Thanks for joining in.
Yeah, good night, Chad. Yeah.
I'm gonna get a drink real quick, so you guys hold down the fort. Don't be pulling any. I don't want to be Carrot and you come back here and you guys have started fighting. So
I'm sure we can find a way to not do that.
All right, I'll be
back. So you've been reading like all those wonderful indie books recently. What's your plan for the next books that you're going to read, Aaron?
What I'm playing at the moment, I've got a couple of indie books left to read. These are ones I bought at the end of last year, the beginning of this year. I meant to read them, but since sort of March, I've moved house, and then my uncle and that, and so things have grown away. But I've got Sledge by Nick Horvath, which I've heard is really good. It's an action thriller, sort of spice on 1980s stuff, set in the modern day, but it's very much in the style of an 80s action hero. Where he goes after some criminals who are human traffickers, and then there's another book called I forgot the name of it, by J.L. Ingle, and that's another book going after people traffickers. And then there's a couple of it's a continuation of a trilogy I've been reading by a man called Neo Victorian, which is about espionage and sort of new age religions, which are interesting. It's which has connections to World War II and all sorts of stuff, partly inspired by L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology. But the new age religion in the books is, what if Scientology wasn't insane?
Yeah. Which book is that again?
They're called. Just wait a second. I just couldn't get them. Didn't get the one of them to read the other full names.
Yeah.
Right. So
well, I'm back. All right. Seems like things were held down. No carrot business going on here today.
yeah, the trilogy. It's called the Intelligence trilogy. So the first book is called Sanity, then it's Reality, and then Intelligence, and that's sort of the third book is sort of a sequel and a prequel, as it were.
Okay, so, sounds interesting. Like 2 years ago, I read The Circumference of the World by Lavi Tidar, which is very much about like what it's also about this idea is like what if L. Ron Hubbard actually did have like all these supernatural ideas and that those were actually true kind of thing, and was fun.
Ooh, that sounds like my type of book, actually. Because even though I don't like Scientology as an organization, I'm quite fascinated by its history. So, and
it's like my man did Sea Org. I understand the urge to want to have your own navy. I do get it.
Also,
it's
I mean,
natural.
like I said last episode, science fiction has attracted some kooky characters over the years. It's kind of like comic books, actually. Pulp kind of genre fiction in general tends to attract some oddballs. I'll just say that. Which, hey, I am one of those oddballs. So I mean, maybe not like L. Ron Hubbard oddball, but I don't know if anyone's getting that far. But I'm not planning on starting my own religion anytime soon.
I think the question with like L. Ron Hubbard is always like, how much of this is him actually believing stuff, and how much of this is him being a grifter? And
it's hard to say, really.
Yeah,
you actually like read stuff about like the history of Scientology, because it's kind of like what we were talking about Joseph Smith a while back. It was kind of like, it's like, how much of this does he believe, and how much of this is he's just like faking? Which I mean, I generally tolerate Mormons more than Scientology because I'm like, well, they're usually nice. I don't think Jesus came to America, but if that makes you happy, I don't really want to. Can't really tell you much else.
I believe I think I'm more convinced that Joseph Smith actually believed at least part of what he preached. I feel like I'm more convinced there than I am with L. Ron Hubbard, but that's just like that's a personal kind of judgment because you don't know at the end of the day. And there's like no way unless we find like a diary of L. Ron Hubbard's where it's like, haha, see what I convinced all those fuckers of.
Well, there is a novel he wrote, if I recall correctly. It's about a guy starting a religion. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, but
then again, that's not really an admission. That's more just like, oh, what happened there?
It's not the first thing that
There's also with people like Hubbard and Smith. There's a question of whether if it is a sort of thing of them initially doing it as a grift and actually coming to believe it.
Yeah, that's like at least the thesis that what's her name, Fawn and Brody, who wrote like the sort of like big Joseph Smith biography in the 1940s and 1950s, which got her kicked out of the the Mormon Church, despite being the niece of the later then president of the Mormon Church. That's kind of her thesis, like the idea of like starting it as a grift and then starting and turning, becoming convinced of the thing over time and be ending as a true believer is sort of like her perspective. And she does have some points. Like from what I've read, and I've read too much stuff on Mormonism at this point, I think he always believed a lot of these things. And the question is also like, how much does it actually matter, right? I mean, if enough people believe the whole thing, and they clearly do at this point, it's like, how much does it matter whether the person was like a grifter at the beginning? It's like
Yeah,
I can't go back and figure out whether the people actually writing whether the four like evangelists are grifters or not, because
yeah, no,
I can't go there, right?
yeah, no. That actually reminds me of another kind of wild story in history. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Joshua Blyye, also known as General Butt Naked. He's become sort of a meme legend on.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
become sort of. He's
I
become,
know about
he's,
him.
he's become quite a meme on the internet. But yeah, he was this dude who was like a war criminal, and
To put it mildly, yes.
just did the most horrific things imaginable. And then, like, the time the war was over, he kind of turned his life around and became a Christian. And I don't know if it's true or not. If it actually that's funny you bring that up, because it makes me think of that. I'm like, man, is it fake? Or maybe it started out as fake and then he genuinely bought into it, or if it or did he genuinely like make a turnaround? I have no idea. There's a documentary literally called The Redemption of General Butt Naked. It is surreal. Like it is genuinely like what the hell is this? Like it is so bizarre. It is such a bizarre story.
I think the problem with that kind of stuff is that it's hard to impossible to judge from the outside, and there's a lot of like sort of like cultural disconnect in there, right? Where I'm like, watching something like that makes me incredibly uncomfortable, because that's like very much not how I would approach religion. But then I'm also not a war criminal in like a civil war, and there's all these other layers over it that makes it so difficult to approach that in like it just makes me incredibly uncomfortable. And the question is like, how do I deal with that? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and with that, you've also got the fact of it being war crimes, because there's that thing where people who will go to war and commit war crimes are also people who wouldn't necessarily, when they come back, be criminals in civilian life, where there's almost something separateness about what they do in war from what they do when they return home, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in this case, we're talking like I think that's like Liberian Civil War. I think it is where, but
I mean, I don't know anything about this. I just know about that guy specifically because
that entire Civil War is full of like incredibly brutal stuff. Like everyone on that, like Charles Taylor is not exactly what you might call a model of ethical warfare either, right? Like that's the point. It's like you have these like civil wars in West Africa that are just like insane.
They're generally ugly. Like you read about like the American Civil War, like it was an ugly conflict. When it's like against your own country,
just to be clear, like all wars are ugly, right?
Okay, that's true, but like it's especially ugly when you're fighting against your own countrymen,
Yeah.
Which
I don't know if that makes that much of a difference. I mean,
it's fair.
I'm just going to add that in the case of the West African civil wars, you have the sort of added layer of tribal ethnic differences in the way that you don't have in the United States in the American Civil War, or a lot of time with the English Civil War. Say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's it's not fun. Well, war anyway.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I mean, I read all these war books. I'm like, man, this sounds horrible. Like, you fucking think? It's like, damn. No,
it's kind of built in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I try not to read too many war books.
I'm fascinated about like reading about war while also kind of being like, war is not a good thing, I
think like the one you should definitely read about, like World War I, is definitely All Quiet on the Western Front. That is definitely worth reading.
That is a good book.
It's a very depressing book.
I remember the ending of the movie made me really sad. I remember that.
The thing is, like, you've probably seen the new movie, right? Like from like a couple of years ago, like 2 years ago, 3. That
I haven't seen that one yet. No.
Like the old one, the black and white one from like the 30s.
I did see that one. Yeah.
That is so fucking harrowing.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, like I thought the Germans were like bad. Well, I guess there aren't really like bad guys in war unless it's like World War II, where it's like, yeah, the Nazis were really bad, and there's one there's one of the few times everyone agreed we got to go stop that.
I think that's like one of the reasons why so much sort of like war fiction is focusing on World War II, because it's very easy to have like good guys and bad guys in that one, or at least to have like very clearly the bad guys, right? Like the other side is not, clean or anything, but it's very clear that the Nazis and the Japanese are just like very clearly the bad guys, like, and that makes it much easier than say World War One, which is just a fucking mess, because like, yeah, technically, Germany and Austria-Hungary kind of start the war, but like there's like no clear good and bad guys in World War One. It's like everyone is stupid at the end of the day.
And also, World War One just ended a mess.
Yeah.
You are a piece of ice in front. The war's still going on in the east in various sort of small wars. And so it's.
And then Russia's like, we're gonna have a revolution, and that didn't go very well. That didn't go very well.
I think like but that's like the important part. Like the revolution starts first, and like one of the key things why at the end of the day,
also Tsarist Russia was an incompetently run shithole by that point in World War One.
By that point is that's been like a century-long point at this. No, but like one of the key things is that once you have the revolution in Russia, is that once the revolution is over, they go like, yeah, that's it. We'll end the war. We'll sign our own sort of like peace with like Germany and whatever, because we got shit to do, right? We don't want to continue this stupid fucking war, and that's like one of the reasons why the Soviets at the end of the day, like why the Red Army kind of sort of like has so much support at the end of the day, is because they go like, yeah, well, fuck that whole war shit, Whereas the whites, for example, really want to continue that, right?
Yeah, and then there was the whole Russian Civil War, where basically the whites were like, we don't really want this communist thing coming over here, and the Reds were like, yeah, we kind of do, and then they started fighting.
Yeah,
and the Soviets won out.
Beyond any of your views on communism or my views on communism, during that time, it's very clear that the whites are the bad guys. Like, we could argue about politics afterwards and political systems afterwards. Like, when it comes to how that war was fought, the whites were very clearly the bad guys. They also managed to be even more anti-Semitic than the Reds, which is,
damn, that's. I was about to say that. I was about to say that was pretty common, though. I don't know.
The whites during the Russian Revolution and Russian Civil War are like insanely bad, like really, really bad. A lot of those people then end up in Germany fostering like anti-Semitism leading up to World War II. Like a lot of like the people propagating the protocols of the Elders of Zion and that kind of stuff. Those are like former like white army people that end up in Western Europe.
Oh boy,
those are bad guys, is what I'm saying.
Quite a few of them end up in Japan, end up in Manchuria in Japan, and they end up serving. Some of them serving in the Japanese army.
Yeah.
That's what they're a very small unit, but I remember looking up at that, thinking I need to learn about that a year or two ago. But
yeah,
good sort of anti-communism of the Japanese Empire, that does sort of make sense.
Yeah, it was kind of containment before containment really became a thing out, at least in America, anyway.
Yeah, and also with the whites in the Russian Civil War, they don't have necessarily any unified ideological grounding other than being opposed to the Bolsheviks. They're pretty diverse in what they want Russia to be after the Bolsheviks have gone, and so the leadership is all split up. So the winning was not necessarily a success, was likely for them, so to say.
Yeah, but like the whites certainly had like the more like the most evil people on their side is at the end of the day. which is saying a lot when you look at like who's on.
Because I mean I have some disagreements, but I see what you're saying. I don't know if anyone really came off looking that good in the war, but yeah, the whites did some pretty nasty shit.
Yeah, that was my point. Like, if the other side is fucking Lenin and Stalin, and you still managed to be the bad guys.
That's what I was getting at. I'm like, yeah, no, it's yeah, no, but kind of going back to World War II, Stalin, as smart as he generally was, like he was prone to making some pretty bad judgment calls. Like for one, murdering all of your good generals.
Yeah, that's generally considered not to be a smart move. I'm not in charge of this. I'm not in charge of this stream, John. I assume you're trying to make a joke, but I wish you would clarify that, because otherwise, like if I were Britain, I would ban you for that, because that is probably almost illegal, probably maybe even illegal what you're saying there.
At least in Germany, I don't know. But
in Germany, no.
I hope you're trolling there, John. I don't want to ban you.
I'm going to say the protocol of the Elders Iron is interesting because, of course, it's a forgery of a forgery.
Yes.
Yeah, it starts out as a French critique of Napoleon III being in hell, talking. I think it's Machiavelli.
I don't think I've ever read Elders Protocols of the Elder of Zion, and honestly, I don't really want to.
It's not exactly an interesting read. It's also like very confusing because it is. Yeah, as Aaron said, it's a.
I know it's a forgery basically, but for some reason people are like, "This is true."
It's based on like a satirical tract on Napoleon III, like being in hell. It's called like dialogue between Napoleon and Montesquieu, I think, or something like that. And then you have elements of a very anti-Semitic German novel from the 19th century called Biarritz, also built into that, and a lot of like other weird shit. And then it ends up with a guy called Sergei Nilus, who publishes it as like an appendix to a generally like really weird book, and it kind of goes from there. And like if you want to read like a really good book about it, I recommend Norman Coon's Warrant for Genocide. That's sort of like the academic book, sort of like going through the history of where that document kind of comes from. And if you want to read a novel about it, then you read Umberto Eco's The Prague Cemetery, which is a fantastic novel.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a strange one because it's then of course the Okhrana, with the Soviet, the Tsar secret police, the one who helped sort of propagate it as well.
Then again, there's been anti-Semitic conspiracy theories since like, good God, I don't want to say the beginning of the time, but it's been around a long time. But kind of.
I agree with you, Ori. That story is actually really good. And yes, I've read it by now.
Yeah, well, kind of, I find myself...
John, I'm not searching for a bannable offense, but if you talk about the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, that is hardcore anti-Semitism. And I don't know, but as I said, like in Germany, that would be very much... actually a legal kind of problem. I don't know how the US situation is when it comes to anti-Semitism. So yeah, just be careful about that shit is what I'm saying.
Well, I should know. I don't think the Bible meant to do that because it was written by Jews. So but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, biggest that one.
Not saying that Jews can't be anti-Semitic. Bobby Fischer's a thing, though he was fucking crazy. So, well, maybe crazy is the wrong word. Severely mentally ill, very likely severely mentally ill.
No, that too. No,
crazy is kind of a not acceptable word anymore.
I think it's also like too vague, right? Like even if it were defined, like there's a difference between just being actively voluntarily out there and having no choice. And like with Bobby Fischer, there's certainly an element of just like clearly like mental health problems going on there in a lot of ways.
I also share a birthday with Bobby Fischer, so there's that. I guess there are worse people to share.
How are you with playing chess?
I'm terrible, or well, I don't want to say I'm terrible. I'm okay at it. You know, I'm not bad. I know how to play it. But yeah, no, I'm not like, you know, a Vladimir Nabokov or my friend Dave really likes to play.
Wait, Thornold, you have not yet read Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah, no, yeah, no, he yeah, like not a yeah, no, but Bobby Fischer, something was wrong with him. I don't know what it was, but probably being a child prodigy didn't really didn't help matters, I imagine.
There's a lot of like weird stuff in his like past, like his childhood, where you can say like certainly not the happiest upbringing that you can have in lots of ways, and that probably didn't help.
You know what it kind of reminds me of, actually, because you know I read it all those months back and we talked about it already, but it kind of reminds me of the Yiddish Policeman's Union. I mean,
yeah,
the Messiah in that doesn't turn into an anti-Semite, you know, recluse, but he does go kind of crazy after, you know, getting good at chess.
I would probably argue that I mean obviously like the whole chess thing in Yiddish Policeman's Union is a huge deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably more like Meyer Landsmann's father, who is sort of like the much more.
Oh,
sort of like,
yeah. That's right. Yeah, I forgot. What am I talking about? Yeah, I got the Messiah mixed up with his dad.
Yeah, Isidor Landsmann.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good book, though. I enjoy it. And me and Raph talked about it on my channel. If you guys want to go watch that,
yeah,
at some point.
Good book.
It's we did go full spoilers, so I'd recommend reading the book first before watching it.
Well, I mean, I recommend reading the book no matter what you do afterwards.
That's true.
Thornell, the Bible is actually a really interesting book, and you can learn a lot from reading the Bible. I have learned interesting things about it, about stuff. In Deuteronomy, Moses tells the people as a commandment from the Lord to build parapets about the roofs of their houses so no one falls off. And I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people, a bunch of like very, very devout evangelical Christians in America who would absolutely fight any, you know, state law that tells them to build like railings around roofs, because it's their goddamn right to have like no roofs, no railings around their roofs, because you know.
I mean, that's not the weirdest rule Christians have come up with. Just to point that out, like
no, like having a parapet around your roof that no one falls off is definitely in the long list of commandments in the Pentateuch. Is definitely among these like top 10% of like really useful rules. Like divine building codes are not necessarily what I was expecting, but it makes sense, right? Like, there are other commandments in there that are much more difficult to explain, but going like, hey, maybe make sure no one falls off your roof.
Yeah. Also, if you bang animals, you might have to kill the animal that got banged. So don't do that. Which is so bizarre, but you know, it's like, all right, I don't know why anyone would do that unless they're, you know, I guess they're into that freaky type shit.
Like more interesting is like with killing animals is like if that's in Leviticus.
I was about to say Leviticus is the one with all the rules.
Well, Numbers has a ton of rules as well, and Deuteronomy also has a bunch of rules. Like now, the thing is, with
probably
Leviticus,
why they call it the Book of the Law.
Which one?
The Torah, which is basically Genesis.
Yeah, that's like the Pentateuch, and that's Yeah, those 5 books.
Or, well, that's what I'm aware the Torah is. Maybe there's a Jewish person in the audience who'll go like, well, not exactly. It's this and maybe some other stuff. But as far as I know, it's Genesis to the end of Moses' time, which I can't remember which book that is.
That is Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy, thank you.
It's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy is what Greek people call the Pentateuch. You can tell that I've done my Bible studies.
That's true. Yeah, there is a lot of animal sacrifice in the Bible. I mean, like, it's not a, you know, it's one of the like big metaphors in the Bible, you know. But yeah, no. Oh God, I was.
No, like the other thing, like that I find, like, so my point with Leviticus with animals is that if an ox kills someone, you need to kill that ox, and if you don't kill that ox, and the ox kills someone again, you kill the ox and you kill the owner of the ox.
Jeez. Yeah, no.
But that's that, like if you look at this as like actual law, I think it is really interesting because it makes an important point. It's like it's about responsibility. It's like you have an animal that is apparently aggressive and violent. You don't take care of that, like either by, you know, killing that animal or making sure that it doesn't actually harm anyone anymore. If you don't do that, then you're actually responsible for what happens. You're liable in a way that, like, if you look at it as like actual like approaches to like law, then it's really interesting how that works. And that's like one of those things I found so fascinating when you read Exodus, like the whole idea of like how the whole like 10 Commandments kind of thing happens is that they're hanging out around Mount Sinai, and Moses spends every day like dealing with all the problems that everyone has, and you know, because he's the one who talks to God.
All the people are bitching at him.
Yeah, and then his father-in-law Jethro goes like, "Hey Moses, can't you just talk to God so God gives you like a couple of general rules that people can follow, so you don't have to like judge every single case? Can't you just like have like general rules?" And Moses goes like, "You know, actually, that's a pretty good idea. I guess I'll talk to God about that one." And that's how he walks up to Mount Sinai and gets like the 10 Commandments. And if you read this as a form of like historiography, you can read this at that moment where like a society becomes large enough that you need to have like general rules, because like individual case judgments don't work anymore because you're too many people to actually run a society that way. And in this case, obviously what happens is you talk to God, you get your 10 Commandments, but you can read it as historiography at the same time. And that's what I find so fascinating about it.
Excuse me. Yeah, no, it's excuse me. Yeah, it's a I think the Bible is well worth reading for a lot of reasons. I think it's the most influential book in the history of man, which is probably not a hot take, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, I don't know another book that's as influential as the Bible. I mean, the Odyssey, maybe. I don't know. Raph, can you think of any other ones?
It really depends on like your cultural background, right? Like the Odyssey definitely influential, the Iliad definitely influential, the Bible influential.
Would you say Beowulf is influential?
Nah.
Or no?
Beowulf is really small fry outside of like fantasy. Beowulf is really like no one cares about fucking Beowulf outside of like Tolkien fans.
Just have Philip Chase show up and just start crying and leave. He's just like, "Oh, you bastard."
But that's the point. Like no one cares about Beowulf outside of like fantasy fans and like people that study ancient languages. That's just like how it is. Like I would go like, I mean, you could go like, what about Gilgamesh? But like no one cares about Gilgamesh outside of like a bunch of nerds either. Those are not culturally influential. Harry Potter is more important for like culture than like fucking Beowulf.
Well,
and I'm not saying that like look, I have my preferences. I personally think like Beowulf is much more fun than Harry Potter, but like when it comes to like what people know and what has like impact on like people's lives, that it's the Bible.
I think Shakespeare's also on there as well.
Shakespeare's definitely on there, but like a bunch of that kind of stuff is also like very much like language like relevant. Like the Bible, what is so fascinating, right? It's like how the Bible as a book has had a massive impact on modern language. Like a lot of like German language stuff is, you can like what is modern German, right? You can tie directly to like two books basically. Well, not books, but like two things. One of them is like Gutenberg's, Martin Luther's translation of the Bible, like the first German translation of the Bible, and
Well,
the other
hopefully
one
he didn't
is
put anything anti-Semitic in there. That wouldn't.
no. Like he kept his anti-Semitic part stuff in his own like writings.
Well, because again, should I rant about the? You know what? I'm not going to rant about it again. I've ranted about it too much about how fucking stupid I think that you're worshiping a Jew, you fucking moron. Like, I know it's more. I know. Look, Raph, I know it's more complicated than that, but I can't help but just think you're an idiot. You're worshiping a fucking Jew. And
Look,
you
I'm a
hate
Catholic.
Jewish
I
people.
agree with you that Martin Luther is an idiot, right? I have no problem with that. No, my point is, my point was
Well,
more
I know,
that like,
I know that it's more complicated than that is what I'm trying to say. It's just like it's so fucking stupid.
yeah, my point was that like for the German language, it's like it's Goethe as an author, like Faust and all that stuff, and it's the first German Bible translation. For the English language, it's the King James Bible and it's Shakespeare. Those sort of like two texts, if we assume that all of Shakespeare is like one text, basically, the same way I just like assume that all of Goethe's writings are like one text, right? Like those are like foundational for like the modern language in a lot of ways, where like a lot of like our sayings, a lot of like colloquial like sayings, allegories and stuff come from those sort of like two sources in a lot of ways. And that's why the Bible is foundational. That's why, yeah, for like the English language, Shakespeare is absolutely foundational. I've heard like for the Spanish language, it's Don Quixote, but I don't speak Spanish, so I wouldn't know. But it's a good book, and you should definitely read Don Quixote if you get the chance.
Tharnell asks if Mort the Arthur is influential.
On Arthurian legend and fiction, yes, but and probably to a degree fantasy, but I wouldn't think more than that.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a more influential book than the Bible. I mean, again, maybe like the Iliad and the Odyssey, probably, and even then, like, could you walk up to somebody nowadays and ask them what they know the Odyssey is? Like, they'd probably go like the new Christopher Nolan movie. I'd be like, oh my god, yes, but yes,
I think like the Odyssey is, I would argue, is influential because there's like, even if people have never read the Odyssey and don't actually know the full story, the idea of Odysseus having to travel through like everywhere, like the word an Odyssey has made it into like the general
that's true.
sort of
Yeah,
like vocabulary. Yeah. And there's like stuff like, at least in Germany, like we often like the phrase being between Scylla and Charybdis is like part of like the general phrase that like, even if you have never read the Odyssey and you don't know what Scylla and Charybdis are, the idea of like being between a rock and a hard place is like a German phrase for that is very clearly the between Scylla and Charybdis, if you are kind of between those two sort of things.
That's a good point.
And in that regard, I think the Odyssey is very the same way the Iliad. You don't know anything about the Iliad, but you've heard about Trojan horses, you know?
Yeah.
What do you think on this conversation, Aaron? What do you think are like super influential books? Do you have one to throw in?
Actually, I agree with you with the Bible. It is the most influential, of course. Its influence isn't just directly from it. You've got the indirect influence through the Quran as well, because obviously.
Yeah,
I still need to read the Quran because I've read like passages of the Quran, and it was like, oh, if your wife disobeys you, you should beat her, and I'm like, it's kind of weird. I gotta put that down.
Oh, you find the same fucking thing in the Bible, right? Like, just to be clear, right?
I mean, I know, but like, hopefully there's like peace and love stuff in there. But I was kind of like, I don't know, man. It's a little weird.
You know, it's like. Like when it comes to domestic violence, I don't think there's much difference between the Old Testament and the Quran.
Yeah, no, but no, seriously, I do want to read the Quran at some point because Islam and is like Islamic scholars have had a real Alex, what are you talking about? Okay, he's talking about the Quran. I'm like, all right. I'm like, what? That's what he means. The Quran is basically saying Jesus, it's fake. No. Yeah, I would like to read the Quran at some point and see what all the fuss is about. Because like Quran or not Quran, sorry, Islam gets kind of a bad rep in America because a good 2 decades ago, there were a couple of extreme Islamists who blew up a couple of our buildings, and America kind of got rubbed the wrong way and made some pretty bad decisions after that. But we won't go into the details. Yeah.
Yeah, what I find so interesting when it comes to Islam is that the interesting sort of conflation between the religion and skin color, because there's like Muslims, there's like people that believe there's Muslims of all skin colors, but when you say Muslim, people imagine someone from like the Near East with like brown skin and everything. There is always a racist component in there, which is the frustrating part, because like if you say Christian, people don't necessarily think about the fact that there's Christians on the entire planet, just as there are like Muslims on the entire planet, and there's like Buddhists on the entire planet. Like, but Islam is always very clearly racially coded in the way that I guess up to a point, say, Hindu is also still somewhat racially coded towards India, right? And possibly Buddhism is coded towards hippies and people that look East Asian.
That's true. There are a lot of Buddhism's kind of the free spirit religion. But Ori actually makes a good point. Like reading holy text doesn't let you understand religions. You have to live with the religious community. And I can't really disagree with that. Because I don't know if I don't know if I would have understood Christianity as well as I do if I hadn't, grown up in that community.
And when you say Christianity, you still only have lived with like one specific Christian denomination, right?
Yeah, I'm like
how well do you understand Catholics?
But it's also called like charismatic. I don't know what it's called.
I was going to say, how well do you understand Catholics, or like Russian Orthodox?
I don't understand. No, I don't understand anything about Russian Orthodox. I do know a little bit about Catholicism because, like, Catholicism is kind of like the Christianity, basically, in a lot of movies. So I do know Catholics as well.
Yeah, but yeah, my
I love that.
No, but like the thing is, like, religion is complicated. My point was just like that. When it comes to Islam, it is both a religion, but it's when non-Muslims talk about it, it's always also like racially coded, which is frustrating.
Well, it's also not just non-Muslims. Where I live in the West Midlands here in England, and we have a large there's a lot of Muslims here, and it's very much racially coded in their terms. But even particularly around Pakistani Muslims, and they do not necessarily regard white converts as proper Muslims because they're white. They're not Pakistani or they're not Arab. There's a degree of racial coding by certain Muslim communities themselves.
I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but like that's more like a Pakistani kind of thing than like a Muslim thing. Like in Germany, like the main sort of like migrant communities are Turkish. Obviously, for us, it's mostly Turkish people. And I know like Turkish people that are very clearly atheists and everything. And there's like Germans who go like, "Oh, that Muslim is like, no, he's he's Turkish." That's a different thing than being Muslim. And clearly, there's obviously people in those groups that don't think that someone like that could be like a German white as you can get German could be like a proper Muslim. But there's also like Germans
Katie Books is Muslim and he's pretty white. So
What?
I mean, KD Books is Muslim, and he's
Yeah.
pretty white. So
Yeah, no, it's just no. It's well, I mentioned Pakistani Muslims, but it's also true with Arabs as well. There is
like, on the other hand, like I know.
is he part Arab? I didn't know that.
No, I don't know. He's full-blooded Welsh. He speaks Welsh as well. Now, I'm just meaning that it was. This is also true of Arabs as well as Pakistanis. So it's not. It's a more broad thing than just particular groups, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think it goes like in both directions. Like, because I'm pretty sure like there are Germans who would probably still not accept like a Turkish person, even if they convert to Christianity and like whatever, as like a proper Christian, because. And my point is that those categories of religion and race, or skin color in that case, like they overlap in like a weird way. In all kinds of directions, which in general is like a problem, right? Because anyone can have like any religion. Religion does not depend on your skin color in general.
Especially when you're talking, especially when you're talking about Islam or Christianity, which both claim.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Jesus said only white people who call in my name will receive eternal life.
Just to respond to biggest bad. No, I'm not a Brummie. I'm from the Black Country. We are a separate thing.
I thought that was an insult at first. I'm like, what the hell does Brummie mean? And I looked it up. And I'm like, oh, it's just a part of England. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I used to get confused on what Gentile meant, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Is that like a group of people? And I end up looking up, oh, it's basically just like it's the Goyim. I see. Okay.
Which is like one of those like really weird and fascinating things that when you read up on like Mormon stuff, when you read up on like Mormon studies, that like Mormons think of non-Mormons and call non-Mormons Gentiles, and I'm like, you guys very much appropriating something here.
Yeah, it's the same with. I've always found it strange with the Amish, where they call anybody who's not Amish English and the English law. That's that strange sort of cultural thing that they have, which because if I'm right in saying they're German originally or Dutch around that. Is that the tradition area they're from? I think. And then they go to Pennsylvania.
Amish is like one of those like weird weird like groups that I don't understand. I'm like, they're an enigma to me. Luckily, I don't live in the US. I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, no, Mormons are. I'll admit I don't even fully understand it, and I actually hold on. Do I still have it? Let's see. Because I met some Mormons either late last year or early this year. I can't remember now, but they actually gave me. Oh, yep. No, I still have it. Yeah, little Book of Mormon right here. Which they stopped talking to me probably because they realized I wasn't gonna convert to Mormonism. But I appreciated the book. So
I have two copies lying around, and I've read it twice.
Yes, for the ever mythical Mormon video.
It's gonna happen. I'm done with my research for the artificial intelligence video. That's gonna happen. We need
to set bets, ladies and gentlemen. Is Alan gonna finish the Return to Edan audiobook first, or is Raph gonna finish the Mormon video? No, I'm kidding.
I've heard that the Return of Edan is coming out at the beginning of December.
Yes, I heard that as well. Which I've eyeball read all 3 books, so I'm just kind of like, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll get. I like.
I'll try to have the Mormonism video out by then, but I can't promise because I first need to finish the artificial intelligence one.
But yeah, I got like the Gideon Bible version of the Book of Mormon, so hopefully this is the actual thing. I saw that like Penguin has an edition, but I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they've added some stuff in there, but I don't know.
I mean, it kind of like if it's handed out by the LDS Church, then it should be the full thing, and
okay,
it should be fine.
I mean, I don't think they'd like lie about.
No,
I
no, no,
hope
no.
not anyway.
It's not a very interesting read. I'll tell you that. There's some fascinating bits in there, but it's incredibly repetitive. It's like more repetitive than like books of like Kings and Judges, which is already like, not exactly,
I mean, yeah, I was about to say the actual Bible is also a bit repetitive in places. So
This one is like the Book of Mormon is more repetitive. There's like a couple of really interesting things. What someone said earlier that like in the Quran, God always agrees with Muhammad. Um, God very much always agrees with prophets in the Book of Mormon.
well,
In like the most obnoxious fucking ways. Like, like you start reading that book and you're like, Nephi needs to be punched in the face. And I understand why his brothers are constantly against him. That kid is so fucking obnoxious. It's like, no, I'm the youngest brother, but I'm doing the righteous thing, and God is on my side. And the brothers go like, no, we're not gonna do this. This is fucking stupid. And Nephi goes like, no, we're going to do that. And they're like, no. And then God shows up and sends an angel, and the angel beats up his brothers, and then his brothers have to help. And I'm like, yeah, that's I would totally turn away from God at that point as well, because if you're supporting that brat, you're not my God.
yeah, no,
Very simple.
I was about no, I mean I was about to say, well, in the actual Bible, it's usually God speaking through the prophets, or usually trying to get them to come back to the fold, because Israel just can't. It's like Israel in the Bible is kind of like a skeezy girlfriend. She's always like, getting side piece, and God's just like, damn it, why? Ugh, Yeah, David, hot lady. Yeah, you're just like, geez, David, what's wrong with you? It's not good. Don't kill people.
I don't know.
To be fair to him, it's to be fair to David, he at least kind of fessed up. He's like, yeah, I did it. That was a shitty move on my end.
I think what is interesting with that part, in a way, is that the Bible, a lot of people in the Bible are very fallible, and they make mistakes and they fuck up. In the Book of Mormon, people never fuck up. Like, the good guys never fuck up, and that's weird. Like, because that's not very human. Humans do fuck up, even if they believe that they're on the right side and everything. Like, good guys always also fuck up, and like David,
Like, don't
doing
they try
that
to
is like a very
don't they
human
try to
thing.
convert don't they try to convert Native Americans to Christianity or something?
According to the lore, to like Mormon lore, obviously the Lamanites, which is their term for Native Americans, are basically they came over together with the Nephites, and are sort of just like a group, because they're named after Laman, who's one of the brothers of Nephi, and they stopped worshiping God because of like all that stuff, because of Nephi being an obnoxious kind of brat, but they're supposedly still like one of the lost tribes of Israel, basically, and they're supposed to come back to the whole thing. There's a lot of like weird apocryphal, weird apocalyptic prophecies. The white horse prophecy is one of those. You don't want to look into that too closely because it's ridiculous. Glenn Beck believes in it. It's bad.
When Glenn Beck believes in something, that's always fun.
It's bad. Supposedly Joseph Smith had that vision, and it's about like the red horse and the white horse and the black horse, and like it's tied to the apocalypse and the riders of the apocalypse. But because it's Mormons and everything is literal, like the white horse are the white Americans, and the black horse are black Americans, and the red horse are Native Americans, and the white horse and the red horse will have to save America.
Oh man, they don't say like Negro in the Book of Mormon, do they?
No, they use other words for that.
They use the N-word? Oh no.
No. This is 19th century. We're talking about the curse of Ham and everything.
Oh God. Oh no.
But what is interesting though is that at the beginning, that's like what makes Mormon history so fascinating. In the beginning, Mormonism was very open to Black Americans as well. Like Joseph Smith himself invested Elijah, what's his face? I keep forgetting his second name, his surname. Elijah Abel, right? That's his name. Invested him with the priesthood, and Sarah Manning, I think, is her name. So, like, there are like Black people invested in the priesthood. Elijah Abel being the one by Joseph Smith, and then later on, we know how like under like after Joseph Smith dies under Brigham Young, you have that whole idea that Black people are banned from the priesthood and can't actually have the priesthood. And you have people that were around, and we have the documents at this point that signed, were witnesses to the investment of Elijah Abel, then perjure themselves and claim that has never happened, because obviously Joseph Smith also said that like Black Americans can't actually get the priesthood because of the curse of Ham. So you have you have this like progressive moment, and then you have this shit getting way more racist in like the 1850s.
I thought you said he was like anti-populism. What are you talking about? I thought Joseph Smith was pretty woke back in the day. I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken. What do I have against Glenn? Not really much. I don't really. I mean, he's like what I have against most kind of wingbat conservative, people who are kind of off the rails. But I find him more tolerable than like I don't know, Ben Shapiro. I don't really think they're that much better in all honesty, but it's like Bill O'Reilly. Like I can handle Bill O'Reilly. It's some of the other people who came after him. I'm kind of like, oh god. He's basically one of those people who like fear mongers about like communism and socialism, and I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about, dude. But whatever. And look, I'm an anti-communist as anybody else, but like, if you're gonna criticize communism, please get it fucking right.
You're much more anti-communist than I am.
No, I mean it's more just kind of like when you fearmonger about socialism or communism, get it right. Like, don't fucking be like, well, communism is what the government does, and I'm like, not really.
I wish.
That's not really how that works. Like, my thing is, if you're gonna criticize something, get it right. Like, come on.
I feel like, but like, biggest asked like really interesting questions is like, if society, civilization dies, like which books would make for like good religions if we only have like books and movies surviving? Like, what would work really well as like the foundation for like a new religion? I don't know.
Maybe a duck like started speaking to me one day, and then it told me a prophecy about God. That would be funny. It'd actually be like a fun challenge. I'll be like, hey, I was at the golf course the other day, and this duck started prophesying about God. And then people are like, oh.
No, but like which books that we've all read, like what kind of media that, like, if all of society is like, if you find like an old text that is like something that we've all read right now, is like, what would actually be like a good foundation for a religion?
Lord of the Rings would probably do quite well as a sort of reality tale, as it were.
Lord of the Rings might actually work, I think, because it is so sort of like modeled on like how religions kind of work.
Does that all quack? I love that. One of my favorite kind of album conspiracy theories, which might be true because I've actually done this, but like the Dark Side of the Moon being compared to being like a weird soundtrack to the Wizard of Oz, like it's really quite fascinating. Also, the White Album, Charles Manson kind of turned that into a religion because Charles Manson was fucking crazy and evil. Helter Skelter was a thing, I guess, where he basically is like, oh, it's when all the black people gonna get. It's always black people. Poor black people. They're always.
I do very much. I would be very much in favor of like a Teenage Mutant.
Superman would be a great religion, by the way. Like that would be a good religion.
Yeah, Superman would definitely work, but Superman is already so heavily invested with like Christian ideas, I think.
Yeah, it's true. No, Michael Bay, the true, I would be the true prophet if Transformers was going to be a god.
I was just like a turtle spaced religion would be awesome because it means like as worship you get to eat pizza.
Yo, pastafarians, man, that's a thing.
I know.
Gosh, it would be funny if you saw somebody based a religion on the hungry caterpillar.
It was so ridiculous. Like one of those like drink food kind of things was doing like a promotional thing with like turtle stuff, and I'm like, that's the dumbest sort of like media partnership you can do if like what you have is like fucking like Soylent, or in this case it was Y food, like a drink food kind of thing. It's like,
well, that's kind of racist.
You pick the
Curse
one
of growing
cartoon.
ham.
You pick the one cartoon thing that is based on eating pizza, and you try to use that to advertise your drink. That doesn't work. It's like ridiculous.
No, like that would be a kind of funny religion too if they decided to take Cthulhu seriously. That would be a terrifying religion. Terrifying.
I like seafood.
What was that you said last week? You're like, oh man, what if Lovecraft figured out what sushi was or something like that? Oh, okay. So I end up looking up the Curse of Ham. This is from Wikipedia, so you can take this with a grain of salt. But apparently, some Jews, Christians, and Muslims have used the Curse of Ham. I've heard of the story of this, but I've never heard of this as an explanation for black skin, as well as a justification for enslavement of black people. Which, okay,
yeah, that's the thing. No, it's built on the idea that and the really weird part is that Mormons kind of mix like the Curse of Ham with the Mark of Cain, which is a thing where you can see that they're getting their sources mixed up. But yeah, the like Ham being, the son of Noah, and he sees Noah when Noah is drunk, and Ham goes into Noah's tent and he's like, oh no, I've seen my dad's dick. That is traumatizing. I guess yeah. I now have to be cursed by my dad for having to see this. It's like, well,
drunk off his ass.
Look, if
like,
you're Noah,
it's your fault. What are you talking about?
The main point is like I'm with Noah there. If you are the world's first actual like mariner, you're like the first fucking seaman. Like, it's your job to be drunk. That's what people who sail do. If you're the world's first sailor, your job is to be the first drunk sailor. That comes with the job, right?
I guess that's why Jews don't eat bacon. That's always unfortunate.
That's in Leviticus. And that is because it has. You don't eat bacon because pigs have split hooves and are not chewing the cud. Because you can either eat things that have hooves, or you can eat things that chew cud, which is why you can eat sheep, why you can eat cows, which are supposedly have split hooves, which is not the proper terminology, but it's an old text. And pigs having split hooves, but actually, don't chew cud. That's why you can't eat them. That's also why you can't eat what they're called cliff something animals. They're a bit like groundhogs. You're not allowed to eat those. They're explicitly mentioned.
You think the Jews made up some of those rules in Leviticus and just kind of went like, God said it, it'll be fine. You think that happened? Because I have a feeling.
Well, I personally think they made up all of those rules, and they being a group that is now called Jews, but at the time that was written, I think the terminology was a different one. But like, yeah, of course humans made up those rules, and there are like good reasons for that. Like when you look at like the idea of like not eating pork in warm climate, that's because of like what they called trichanes. Like there's specific. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
There's like biological reasons that eating pork in like a warm climate is incredibly deadly and dangerous, because there's like a specific bacterium that really, really kills you easily that lives in pig meat, basically. So that's why you shouldn't eat that stuff. There's a lot of reasons why those rules are in there, but like,
Well, I mean, they said they got the 10 Commandments from God, so I mean, whatever you believe about that, I don't know. But that actually is kind of funny. It reminds me of a meme I saw the other day about the Black Plague, and it was basically like the angry crying meme. I don't know if any of you have ever seen that, but it's basically like, man, why are all these Jews, like, oh no, we're having this Black Plague. Where all these, it's like, why are all these Jews, managing to be, healthy? And then it goes doing basic like health stuff. The Jews doing basic health stuff. It's like, oh, they must be spreading it,
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like hygiene can be dangerous.
And that was so funny.
And
You'll have to find it.
It's interesting to see that, but yeah, that it's at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, if your religion actually has like pretty clear like rules on like bodily hygiene, that may mean that you may not get like every single fucking bacterium that's flying around. Who'd have thought? Well, I mean, obviously no one, because it took like another couple of centuries before we actually discovered bacteria.
Okay, I found it. It's basically medieval Europe during the Black Death. Why aren't the Jews dying of the plague as much as we are? I bet they caused this. We should massacre them and steal their stuff. Jews during the Black Death. Remember to wash your hands before dinner, as is customary in Judaism. Yes, Father. I'm like, oh man, that's hilarious. Yo, a mutant turtles religion wouldn't be that bad, actually.
Yeah, washing your hands is not necessarily the worst of ideas.
Man, the Jews, man, they were ahead of the curve in a lot of ways.
Isn't that the whole thing? Like, if you read the Old Testament, like, isn't it the thing like he comes down from the mountain first time around with like 3 tablets and he drops them, and then he only comes back with like 2? So we never got the appendix.
No, I remember. No, I think they were worshiping false gods, and he got all pissed off and dropped them. Because Moses. I mean, hell, Moses he didn't get to see the promised land. He could only see the promised land. He couldn't enter it because he smacked the rock instead of like trusting God and talking to it. So, I mean, yeah, they're definitely fallible in the Bible.
Turtle Church is definitely where I'm going to.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun.
I'll go to Turtle Church already. I'm already named after one of the 4 saints of Turtle Church, so I'm good.
I forgot all about that.
I'm good. But guys, it's almost midnight here. I should probably leave this wonderful gathering because otherwise I'll just open another beer, and we all know how that goes.
All right. Well, you take care, Raph. I'm probably going to go for about another 30 minutes, and then I'll probably get going.
All right. Well, have fun, everybody, and yeah, read good books. Don't read. I don't know. I've been reading really good books lately. So,
Her tablet taught us how to cook pork properly.
Yeah, that's how that works. All right, guys. I'll see you around.
Nice to meet you, Ralph.
Well, it's just you and me now, Aaron. It's like, well, it's just chilling, man. We got a bunch of other people. Yeah, it's just been kind of. Yeah, I'm reading Steve's book, and I'll just say I'm enjoying it, but like the part where he makes fun of like the virtue signaling like leftists, I think is a little bit ham-fisted at points, because like they're all like, "Oh man, Morrissey, I'm offended." I'm like, okay, that's a little that's a little too on the nose there. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but like, a little bit. Like, I don't know.
Well, there's all times that Steve Steve lives down in the southwest, I think, and they have quite a few universities. So that sort of attitude is actually very common, especially around the university towns. And usually the students come down to the seaside towns on the weekend, and so he's probably interacted with people like that. So
I'm not saying that's not true. I'm just going like, I don't know. That seems a little. It's a little on the nose there, buddy.
Which story are you on at the moment?
Well, I mean, in Hot Dose of Hell, I am. They've just. Oh, they're at the bar drinking. Basically, is what they were doing, and then she's like, "I'm gonna leave because these people are annoying me."
Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were reading Violent Ends.
Oh no, I haven't gotten that yet.
No. Oh no, Hot Dose of Hell is really good. Yeah, no. Right.
Yeah. So you're doing Sharp and you're gonna do some other stuff.
Yeah. Once we got through Sharp, we're going to do Hornblower, and after that, I'm not quite sure what we're going to do. I'll talk to Henry Meta, see if there's anything in particular I want to review. But yeah, so it's mostly going to be raw fiction, TV or film. So get forward.
We got another person in here. We got Alex. What's up, man?
I had a moment. So.
Oh, very nice.
How you doing?
Doing all right. Just chilling, and just in massive cope mode after yesterday. But it's all right. It's just sitting here talking about some of the books I'm reading. I'm also reading Beneath Jack-o'-lantern Sky by my friend Tyler James, which is a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. Recommend it for fans of like Ray Bradbury and Gideon Falls, because I'm wanting to complete that series this year. So it's kind of my big year Lemire thing again, as you do. And yeah, so that's kind of all I've been doing.
That's fair.
Yeah, but oh man, that's about it from what I've been reading recently. Well, I mean, I have some stuff I'm hoping to read in November, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Also, I'm hoping to read The Killer on the Road by Stephen Graham Jones before the end of the month. So we'll see if I get to that. What's nice about Steve's book is like 260 pages long, so not very long at all.
Nice and short.
I was about to say, I'm sure I'll knock it out in about a week or so. So.
Yeah, I work 40 hours a week, and then I also go to this acting class, so it leaves me with very little time for it. And then I work out, so I'm surprised I get the reading done that I do get done.
Oh man, maybe you should start investing in audiobooks or something.
So far, I've only done one thing for fun for a friend, for some KOTOR comics on YouTube. So that was cool. Yeah, for Knights of the Old Republic, KOTOR for short.
Mm-hmm. We're all. I mean, I don't know if Aaron's much of a Star Wars fan, but I do like KOTOR. It's a good.
I like Star Wars.
Yeah, it's not the video game, but the comic run by John Jackson Miller.
Is that the one about Revan and Mandalore?
Well, Revan is in it. He's not the main guy though. He is in the video game, but the
I know.
comics are about a different character.
I read one of the comics from KOTOR where it was about damn it, what am I trying to think of? Where Revan's a Mandalore, which I like.
Yes, that is in there. Yes. And also Malik is called Alec back then, which I think is really funny. That his Sith name, you just changed the letter. I think it's just kind of really funny. So.
But yeah, so yeah, Aaron, you're gonna be so are you? Mac mentioned earlier a little while back about there was a Hornblower TV show. So you're gonna cover that?
Yeah, I'm going to cover that. Yeah, that one won't take as long time to shot because there's only 8 episodes altogether. They
Did it
didn't
get
make.
canceled, or is it just because of how different it is in the UK than America?
I know it essentially got cancelled, partly because it was done on ITV, and they essentially didn't want to do it anymore.
That sucks.
It's a great picture because it was a really good series. The production values and the budget by American standards were quite small, but in British TV standards were quite big, and it's really good period war drama. Sadly, we haven't had many that have been up to that quality since.
Yeah, I need to catch up on some of those like Napoleonic, adventures, if you want to call it that. Would you call it that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like Master and Commander again. Is the movie very close to the? Because I know the first book. I think that's the adaptation of the first book.
It's the adaptation of what. Actually, bear with me a second. I'll just go and get. I've got one of the books. So I can actually tell you which one this is adaptation of.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, reading anything interesting, Alex?
Right now, I'm reading the Mysteries of Udolpho, and also reading this self-published book by Von Roycraft, Bold Ascension.
That's right. Yeah, I saw you mentioning that in the comments. Sorry, I'm
You're
blank
good.
there.
No, yeah.
So it's a lazy Sunday afternoon, so sometimes things will slip.
And then the Bible's year-round, so that's also there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
listen to the Bible every year, so Aaron's back. What do you got for me, Aaron?
So it's the book, the film. It takes the name of the first book, which is National Commander. It's pretty much an adaptation of Far Side of the World and this one called Reverse of the Middle. And so this is the book. Far Side of the World is the book before this. So it's those two books combined. It roughly gets the plot of those right. It's less plot faithful, book authentic, as it were, if you know what I mean. But it gets authenticity, and it's really good. If you want to know if you like the books, watch that film because they get the really real sense of the books on the screen in a way that you don't very often. And so if you end up liking the film, you're almost certainly going to enjoy reading the books.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good. I know Russell Crowe's in it, and I think Pippin's in it. The guy who plays Pippin, I'm blanking on his name at the moment, but
Billy Boyd, I think.
Billy Boyd, yeah, thank you. And Paul Bettany is in it.
Yes, he plays a matron.
I've heard it's good. I would like to see it. You really like that movie, don't you, Aaron?
Yes, it's one of the best sort of Napoleonic War Royal Navy films that you'll see. It's also very accurate to the period, and the screenplay writers. I think it was the director and there's another bloke who wrote it, and they were big fans of the books and also sort of the history behind it. So they sort of made it as authentic as they can with the budget they had. It's really well done. A great pity they didn't get to do more films because it was a plan to make it into a franchise. And I know Russell Crowe still to this day would like to do another film, sort of sequel to it, but it's for one reason or another, it's never happened.
Yeah, it's I remember. I think it was Steve Donahue did a whole I don't know if you watched it because I know you kind of fallen off from Steve recently, but he did a big historical fiction master list, if you want to call it. It's almost it's an hour and a half long, but he had he basically had all of those books. He had Sharp and Hornblower and Master and Commander. Well, it goes by another name. You said is it Audrey Maturin?
Yeah, Aubrey Maturin. Yeah.
I can't help but think of a turtle when I hear that because
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
The gospel.
Full circle.
It's being revealed. Yeah, no.
Exactly. Britton is the prophet.
Yes, I am. Yes, the turtle. I saw a turtle one day, and he started
Turtle
going
Moses.
he's like, God, the world will end in 2012. Wait a minute.
That's crazy. We got the
That's 15 years
2012
ago.
movie. We got the
Like, that was 13
2012
years
movie about the
ago.
end of the world, and then we had
That film spooked me out when I was a kid. I was like, oh my
Yeah,
God, I hope that
me
doesn't
too.
happen.
And
then
then
it
there's the
happened, and then that day came, and I'm like, nothing
we're
happened. I feel
fine.
stupid now.
Yeah, exactly. And then friggin' Assassin's Creed, the video game, made that like its entire plot point for like half the
Oh, no.
series was 2012 being the end.
Yeah, I never could get into Assassin's Creed. It seems like it's one of those. It just seems like it gets like too like mixed up in like conspiracies. I'm just like, oh my God.
Kind of, not really. It's just more like
No, I have heard the Ezio stuff is like the best, like Assassin's Creed stuff. So I don't know.
I mean, I think yeah. I mean, the main story ends at 3, and then 4 is really good as like a pirate game, and also the pirate like philosophy of like, or at least what the games decide that pirate philosophy is all about is pretty in line with assassins in their universe, so it kind of works out. But 1 to 3, 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, which are like spin-offs of 2, and 3 are kind of like one congruent story.
Well,
So those 5
yeah,
games.
they are, but sometimes they can get. Well, I guess that's part of the charm, but sometimes they can get a little convoluted.
Yeah, I mean, the first game is just like the Crusades, and Desmond's stuck in the office for like the entire game, so you can have an excuse to go to the Crusades period. And then Assassin's Creed 2 starts introducing some of the weirder elements of like how this is actually not just a historical fiction game. This is also sci-fi because there's actually an ancient civilization that existed prior to humans. So it introduces that, and then it gets a little bit convoluted from there. But it still is pretty all right for those games. It's pretty much after they kill off Desmond arbitrarily that it just kind of goes off the rails. Now, like Norse gods are real, and so are the Greek gods, and it's just all this crazy stuff now. And in the newer games that I don't know what's happening anymore. Loki's like some Muslim guy, and Assassin's Creed Mirage, like I don't know what's happening. Like it's just all over the place.
Aaron, have you played any of the Assassin's Creed games? Do you have any insight on this?
I have not. I've only ever seen people play them on occasion. It's something I've never been interested in. I should say I do play games, but the Assassin's Creed series has been not always around it.
The Assassin's Creed novels only deal with the historical portion of the story. Like, there's no Desmond or anything in those books.
Oh, okay. No, I don't. It's just there's those things that you just don't find interesting, and the Assassin's Creed is just one of them. It's not because I have any particular hate or dislike of it. It's just there. And
I was kind of interested in playing the Norse one, but I was kind of like, I played 3 for a little bit. I'm like, I can't.
But it's also like 100+ hours, and and even people who like the game say that it's too long, and you're like forced to go through like everything to get to the end, so you can't even like skip most of it. Like at least the original Assassin's Creed games, they're like a solid like 15-20 hours and you're done. And they knew what they were, and they stopped at a certain point. It was nice, solid, and done. These ones want to keep you staying there forever. And I think Valhalla was very successful because it came out like during COVID, so people had nothing else to do. So it sold like hotcakes. But like when you're an adult with like a bills to pay and things to do, trying to sit there and play that for like 100+ hours, it's like there are better games I can do that with my time if I'm gonna waste my time doing that. So, but yeah, I'm not like a big history guy, but it did make me interested in history playing those games growing up, and I think like every place I've ever wanted to travel is because of those Assassin's Creed games. Also because they like really do their research. Like when Assassin's Creed Unity came out, which was during the French Revolution, I think over in France, I guess the Notre Dame was like burning down for some reason, and they had to build it back together. But there was no, like manuscripts of blueprints left over of what it looked like. But the Assassin's Creed games do, at least when it comes to the world itself, maybe not the actual characters and stuff within it being historically accurate, but the Notre Dame was so exact in the game that they played Unity to kind of get a feel of how they should be building it back up after it burned down. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I need to get more into historical fiction. And after watching Steve's video recently about historical fiction, got me kind of fired up to go read some. And then I'm like, well, I have a bunch of other books I want to read before the end of the year. So I don't know.
That's the crazy thing about reading. Once you like really dive down the rabbit hole of enjoying reading, like it's like there's just so
It's
much.
just like an avalanche of books come over you. You're just like, oh
And then
my
you
God.
and you join the booktube sphere and you're watching a bunch of booktubers and they're mentioning a bunch of things. You're like, that sounds kind of cool. I'll get to that when it like no one's talking about it in 50 years, but I'll get to it someday. You know?
Oh my God, that's me with the Robin Hobb novels. Everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, and then me being kind of the hipsterish guy that I am, I'm like, I'll wait till it kind of dies down. But the thing is, it doesn't die down.
Yeah, everybody still talks about it. So it's like I have to read it. I want to read it. It sounds good, but I also want to read, some classic stuff. I want to read some gothic stuff, and I want to read self-published works to, help out people that are not as big as, the normal publishing route.
No, maybe
So,
I want to read another like less talked about fantasy novel. How about that?
Yeah.
And,
maybe I want to talk about a comic book just for random chance, and you just never get to these big things, and you're always behind. So,
yeah, a lot of YouTuber like fucking Japan took over. They're all weeaboos now. I'm just like, oh God, why?
Yeah, everybody always mentions Berserk, and I'm like, I'm sure it's great, but I have like 1,000 other
Berserk
things
is
I would
really
rather
good.
read
I mean,
first.
I'm not a weeaboo by any means, but that is a very good series. I think you would like it, Alex. Because
Yeah, I bet I would. I heard people say if you like Malazan, then you also like Berserk. I don't know if that's a good comparison, but you only have one book to go off of, so
I think Berserk's much darker than Malazan.
yeah, I got to keep my mouth shut. I can't say anything.
I was about to say, well, then again, I've only read one book, so I mean, you can, feel free.
That's probably the lightest and most like 90s fantasy that Steven Erikson writes, and then everything else doesn't really fit that trope anymore. So I'll say book 7, book 9, book 2, book 3, and I guess all the books. Pretty much everything after book 1 has some moment where you're like, oh, ew, not fun, uncomfy.
Yikes.
So,
uncomfy.
Yeah. So I was like, maybe not this book, and then I thought about it some more when I was saying that. I was like, nope, never mind. Pretty much all.
Yeah, no, it's like, bro, I'm kind of picking up on indie books because I'm friends with Steve, and I was gonna read Hot Dose of Hell last year, and I didn't get around to it because I ended up reading God damn it, blanking on the name. It's Speaks to Nightbird by Robert McCammon, which was an excellent book, but it's a bit long, so it kind of took most of my my October to read that. Yeah. So also like my comics reading was just god awful, and I'm like, well, I gotta read more comics next year, and that's gone pretty well for me actually.
Yeah, my big goal probably next year is to finally do Ultimate Spider-Man, because that seems easier to manage than the actual Spider-Man run, because it's only like 100 something issues instead of like 600 plus. So I think I got up to issue 20 in like 2023, and I just didn't touch it again. So I got to go back and restart. And then I read some Superman comics this year because I watched the new film, and even though it's not the best film ever made, it still inspired me a bit and was a lot more hopeful than Man of Steel was.
It's been kind of funny recently seeing these like film goers goon over these movies that are at like good. Like I don't know if like One Battle After Another was like a great movie, but I enjoyed it, but I don't know if it's like the like biggest masterpiece. I think There Will Be Blood is still
masterpiece in a long time. So
I mean, the last film I could call like a masterpiece was like Across the Spider-Verse. Like that film is like genuinely fucking amazing.
I'd also argue that Dune Part 2 is probably the Star Wars of the 2020s in terms of like its impact. But I guess we'll see as the years go by. But
I don't know. What do you think, Aaron? Do you have any goals for 2026, or have you not thought that far yet?
Well, I've got my book club going. So, that one thing that's got that going now. Starting in September, going to the foreseeable future. But other than that, I've got some of the indie published, self-published books that I bought the end of last year and the beginning of this year. I want to to read my way through them. But after that, other than those two things, I've got nothing else particularly planned in terms of reading. I just read what I feel like.
All right. Yeah, I know you had a Dune book club that kind of fell through.
Yeah, that was back in June. Might do that again, but I'm not sure. What happened there was my friend Sean DeStanfast is another YouTuber. He wasn't feeling very well, so he couldn't take part in it. And then things after that sort of fell apart, and then I grew ill. And so it sort of wrapped up after the second week, to be honest. But might do that again, depending on how Sean is by then.
Fair enough. I mean, let me see. Is there, oh shit! How many freaking Flashman books are there? Damn. Oh, sorry, I'm looking through it on Facebook, or not Facebook, Goodreads. What am I? My brain's not on today. But yeah, I guess there's 12. We'll see. Hold on. Let me look at this.
I was also going to say, if you want video games with conspiracies, it's not even Assassin's Creed, it's Deus Ex, which is conspiracies of video games.
I've not played those games yet, but I've heard those are pretty crazy.
Like if
Cyberpunk?
Like, there is Cyberpunk 2 a little bit, but the Deus Ex the original, there's and it's the opening mission of the game too. When you get to the end of it, you talk to this black guy, I forget his name, and that entire conversation is like, I'll have to send it to you guys after, but it's just conspiracy, the video game. Every conspiracy you've ever heard about over the past 20 years, it's all true in that game.
Like JFK. So JFK,
all of it, the Illuminati, like Area 51, it's all true.
Aliens, like reptilian people.
Maybe not reptilian people, but yes, aliens. Also, 20 years before COVID-19 and what people were saying about that, you had Deus Ex having a plague that mysteriously came from a medical facility, and also the rich were able to be cured from it real fast while the poor people suffered and died, so that there could be, some population cleansing. But just crazy. No. You got like for beta. Also, the wildest thing about that game, I forget the reason, but because it was meant to be the future, 2052. So for some reason, they couldn't render in the skybox of the background, the Twin Towers. They just came up with a lore excuse that the Twin Towers were attacked by terrorists, and the game came out in 2000.
Oh,
so that was really unfortunate.
That's about as unfortunate as when Biggie Smalls said "blow up like the World Trade" in his song "Juicy."
So it's pretty wild. But it's a good game.
So I guess there's one where Flashman gets involved with John Brown, which I imagine will be an absolute just insane fest.
That's funny. There's a scene in there where Flashman's talking to one of John Brown's sons, and he's explained how when he was a child he did something wrong, and John Brown obviously beat him, and then John Brown forced his son to beat John Brown back as sort of a punishment, and the son's said how terrible this was and how guilty he was, and Flashman's just thinking, if it was me, I would have belted the old sod until his arse fell off.
Damn.
That's an extreme. It is a very funny book. That interesting enough, though, Flashman does actually like John Brown. He calls him all these sort of things, but he genuinely does like him. And actually saves his life at one point. It's an interesting relationship they have. The interesting thing about the Flashman books is that, as Raph mentioned when he was on, you can read them in any order because they're not technically published in chronological order. So some of the books take place years afterwards. So the last book, which is Flashman on the March, takes place in 1868. And then there's Flashman the Tiger, which takes place in the 1870s, 1880s, 1890s. And so you can take a book at random and read them. They're all really good. I don't think, to my mind, there's a weak one among them.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about it because I've had friends who really enjoy it and say it's a really good example of like how like a writer can write a very unsympathetic character and still make it interesting.
Yeah. It also gives a lie to the idea that some people have about historical fiction that you have to sacrifice historical accuracy for a good story.
Yeah.
But in the Hamilton books, no, Jordan Donald Fraser makes it a great story. It's also historically accurate and historically authentic as well.
That reminds me of a movie I saw called Chopper, which is about this really freaking insane Australian criminal named Chopper, which was kind of the Aussie take on one of my favorite movies, Bronson, with Tom Hardy, based on the criminal Charles Bronson. I'm sure Aaron knows who that is, but I'd be surprised if he didn't because he's an English guy. But yeah, no, Chopper says in the movie, he goes, never let facts get in the way of a good yawn. He says that a couple times in the movie. And the real guy was insane too. Like he confessed to a couple of murders before he died. I'm like, damn, dude. Like your liver's failing. You're like, oh, I'm gonna confess to these murders I committed, or maybe it wasn't murders. It was some kind of crime. Fun movie though. It's not as good as Bronson though, because like Bronson is just insane, and I love it.
And he's I think he's the most. I think he's the person who's been in high security the most in British history. I think.
Also, talented artist too.
Yes, and a poet as well.
Yeah, it's so weird. I was telling my mom a few years ago about Bronson, and she's all like, "Oh, that guy get beaten or something?" I'm like, "No, he came from a relatively decent house. He just was just something up with him, and he just like to throw down with people. I guess I don't know."
That's why, going back to Star Wars, I always like the Darth Plagueis. Because that's basically the origin story for Palpatine, and his dad was kind of a jerk, but Palpatine was already a problem before that, so
that is
he's
true.
Just kind of born bad.
He does grease up very well too.
So it's just kind of some people are just bad, There's
which is
really...
one of the most viscerally uncomfortable scenes I've ever watched in a movie. Yeah, isn't that the part where he kidnaps his art teacher and makes him put all the black stuff on him? Oh man, it's really uncomfortable. Also, yeah, Tom Hardy it's probably still my favorite Tom Hardy movie. He's amazing in that.
Tom Hardy can be so good, and then he's also in things like Venom.
Yeah, we don't talk about Venom here.
Yeah, I was so upset. I love Venom, and then they just we're gonna have Venom in a movie, and it's gonna have no Spider-Man when that defeats the entire point. Or Venom can be a good guy only after he's been an antagonist to Spider-Man. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. But
yeah, I'm it's weird because Tom Hardy looks the part. He looks like Eddie Brock in the comics. It's just what are you doing, man?
Well, until the last movie, we're kind of just was definitely not working out. So, which fair enough, but
Bronson is great. It's definitely one of my favorite movies.
He's also really good in Peaky Blinders.
I still need to see Peaky Blinders.
Phenomenal.
I know Cillian Murphy's in it, and he's like, "You fucking idiot." So
why won't anybody fucking listen to me? That was terrible. I'm sorry. That's so offensive. I forgot Aaron was here. I do a terrible British
They're Brummies. I don't particularly mind about them, but their accents being made a lot.
No, it's but I've heard it's about World War I gangsters, and Cillian Murphy swears a lot, and also
he swears a lot
in it. Yeah, so the Peaky Blinders were a real criminal gang, but they weren't the sort of mafia family style gang that they were that they portrayed in the TV show. So it's a great TV show, but it is heavily fictionalized, shall we say?
It seems like a show I would like because I like kind of those villain protagonist shows like, Breaking Bad or The Shield or The Sopranos. Just haven't gotten around to it.
I think a movie's coming out next year or something.
Yeah, there's some. Yeah, I think it's going to be on Netflix possibly.
I mean,
For
all the
whatever
seasons on
reason.
Netflix. I'd
Did
imagine.
the
maybe it'd
show
be-
end well, or was it just kind of like, yeah?
Oh no, it ended on a reasonably good cliffhanger actually. So it really did set things up well for the film. So
Yeah, like good lord, they had like Adrian Brody on, and he plays like a gangster. I saw. I didn't. Again, I haven't seen it. I just know I've seen like clips from it where, Cillian Murphy's doing his thing. He's
Yeah.
another great actor too.
I don't think he's ever done a bad performance. So
Yeah, I mean, I liked Oppenheimer. Again, I feel like when like good movies come out, people start gooning over it because we're like so starved of like truly masterful films at the moment, at least in America.
yeah, for the moment you watch it, you're like, well, it's good, but it's not like the greatest thing of all time.
I don't know what you think of this, Aaron, because I know you're in England, and like England's film situation is probably different than America's.
they're roughly the same. Yeah, but I don't think people react to sort of as strongly. So, but the good films are by far outweighed by the bad ones. There's very few truly great films being made on this side of the Atlantic.
Yeah, that's why I've been kind of jaded with movies. I had my friend Jason's gone like, well, maybe you should watch foreign movies. I'm like, well,
The true cinema bros be like, go watch that random foreign film.
Yeah, you should watch that Andrei Tarkovsky film. That's great. I'm just like, I only have so much time in my day, guys. That's a great
watch,
film, by the way. Stalker's fantastic.
I watched The Hunt with Mads Mikkelsen, which I think is like a German
I've not.
film.
I've heard that's a great movie, though.
Oh, it's so basically, it's just you get accused of pedophilia, but you are 100% innocent, and sees everybody turns against you. Understandably so, but you're completely innocent, and that's basically Mads Mikkelsen's whole deal in that movie is dealing with that. So it's a rough time. It's very scary. It's like if you ever want to be a teacher, I'm like, I don't want to be a teacher. Like I don't want this happening. It's terrible.
Also, Aaron, I gotta ask about this. Cause I watched your like favorite classic World War II films.
Yeah,
and maybe you brought this up and I didn't see it, but like you didn't bring up Bridge of the River Kwai. Like that's an amazing film.
Oh yeah, no, that was brought up as an honorable mention.
Oh, okay, all right. I was gonna say, if you didn't bring that up at all, I'd have thrown down. Like that. It's one of my favorite war movies of all time.
Oh yeah, no, with those ones, it's really quite difficult to sort of which one you're going to keep. You're going to keep out. So all the ones I don't put in my sort of, in that one is top 3. I just put in a huge list of honorable mentions, and Steve and John are the same. It's So it's that was I was always thinking of putting it on, but then all the things, then I thought all the things. So
then again, I need to see some like other World War II caper films because I know that was kind of a thing back in like the 60s and 70s.
Oh yeah, a good one to see if you've not seen it is Attack on the Iron Coast, which is from the late 60s. It's a fictionalization of the Sanders Air Raid by the Commandos, which was to destroy a dry lock on the French Atlantic coast. It's a really good film. It's not too bad of a sort of portrayal of the events. As usual with these sort of British war films of the 60s, you have Lloyd Bridges. I think it's Lloyd Bridges.
I also watched Waterloo not too long ago.
Yes,
very good film. Surprisingly,
it's a great film.
I thought it would be kind of like I thought it would kind of fall apart, but I watched it. It's a really good movie. Like
I mean that
really great acting from everyone involved. Like Christopher Plummer was great as Wellington.
Yeah.
Also, the guy who played Napoleon was really good.
Yeah. Rod Steiger is brilliant in that film. Absolutely. And that film has the advantage of the fact that most like films that era, the soldiers that are on screen are the actual soldiers. That was I think they had a division.
Yeah, I'll say, well, one, it's impressive because they got all these people together, but also, like, I think most of it is about how it went down.
Yeah, it's reasonably accurate. And the funniest thing is
they do like tighten up stuff because time wise, but
Yeah.
like aside from that, like most of it is like pretty like close to what actually happened.
Yeah, I mean the director went so far as to actually re-landscape the landscape where they were filming it to make it look like the actual battlefield. So you had the Red Army do that for him.
Wow, that must have been a feat because I know Russia and America were not friendly, or well, I guess it wasn't an American thing, but whatever.
Yeah. I think the film was Italian-Soviet. I think possibly. I mean, it was a Russian director, and who actually on the previous film he made, he had 2 heart attacks and died for a few seconds in the course of that, and then went on to make Waterloo.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
hardcore. Damn. No, but yeah, it was a good movie. I was very like, I mean, not that like I thought it was gonna be bad, but I was just kind of like, oh man, let's see what this was, and it was good. I enjoyed it.
I felt well. I'm gonna say, since I'm mentioning war films, my favourite film of all time is a war film. It's Zulu. You should not seen it.
That is also a very good movie. I enjoy Zulu. That's a good one. Yeah. You're quite fond of that battle in general, aren't you?
Yes, it's because I
think on your Twitter account, that's like one of your like pictures on your profile.
Yeah, it's the banner one. It's because one of the Victoria Cross holders at the battle is a distant relative. Was a distant relative of mine. It was my cousins with my great granddad. So I know quite a bit about the Battle of the War in general. And also, just up the road from me, there's another Victoria Cross holder from the Zulu War called Anthony Booth, who's buried up at St Michael's Church in Bromley Hill. And he fought the battle in Tommy Drift. So I would sort of know about that as well. There's a lot of local connections. Mind there's also a local connection to Guy Fawkes around here because up the road at a place called Holbeach House is where the plotters made the last stand against the King's men.
Zulu's a good movie too. I watched that some years ago because I was a big war movie kid growing up, and like I was maybe I don't even remember how long ago it was, but I ended up watching Zulu as one of the like war movies because because I was looking up like best battle scenes in movies, and that just happened to be one of them. And it's really good. I enjoyed it a lot. It's a lot better than Cartome. I'll just say that. Have you ever seen that with Charlton Heston?
Yes, actually, I like cartoon. It's reasonably, actually, in terms of history, quite good.
It's a good movie. It's just kind of like I think Charlton Heston kind of struggles with the British accent a little bit sometimes, but it's a good movie. It's fun.
Yeah,
I like Zulu a lot more.
Yeah. Oh no, Zulu is better. Yeah. I'm gonna say in cartoon, Charlton Heston, for all of his accent, does actually play the character reasonably accurate to the real guy. Gordon was very much like that. So
he always dies in the movies I see. Right? It's like he gets killed in Planet of the Apes, the second one, I should say. Spoilers. And then he gets speared in fucking cartoon. Like, damn, dude. Like that's
actually based on a painting. It's in the National Gallery in London.
That was one thing. Like, did that actually happen, or was that just kind of like mythology for the movie?
As far as we know, that did actually happen. That he came out and faced them, and they killed him. And in the film, the Mahdi tells them not to kill him. Well, the Mahdi did tell his men not to kill him, not to kill Gordon, and they did. But that film is, as I say, quite accurate in terms of the events it's portraying. It is also nice that they portray William Gladstone, and he's got on his hand, he's got the finger missing, and so he's got a black glove on. That's sort of a nice little thing that it could be missed, but they put it in. So that, in some ways, cartoon is more historically accurate than Zulu because, for example,
really,
I mean the men who fought at Royal Drift for the 24th Foot were not Welsh. Well, they were very, very few of them were Welsh. Most of them were actually from the West Midlands, with one lone Scotsman among them.
Oh, Alex was saying something. I think we accidentally cut him off. What were you saying, Alex?
I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, okay.
No, you're okay.
I mean, I've watched a good many like great battle scenes. Like, I don't know if you ever watched Ron from Akira Kurosawa. That's a amazing movie. Great battle at the end.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends are like, "Oh, you should see Seven Samurai." I'm like, "I know, I want to see Seven Samurai. I want to. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. All right, it's 3 hours long. Okay, like I have other things I'm doing."
Have you ever seen Battle of Algiers? Battle for Algiers, sorry.
No, I haven't.
That's an interesting film. It's about the Algerian War, and it's shown from both the French perspective and the Algerian perspective. And it's politically neutral, so it doesn't take a side. So it's done almost in a documentary style, and it's really good. It's probably the first film, sort of modern film, that shows sort of urban and sort of guerrilla warfare in a way that you didn't see before. And in many cases, it's never been done as well as it is in Battle for Algiers.
All right, I'll have to check that out. Well, I've been having fun, but I'm probably going to head off for the evening.
Yeah, I've been going on for 3 hours. So.
Yeah. So I'm probably gonna take off. But Aaron, Raph, probably gonna not watch this, but Alex, Aaron, Raph, thank you all for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, I'm probably gonna head off now. So take care, everyone. All right.
Bye bye. And